right, folks, we're gonna get started, 6 o'clock. Flag behind me, start the presentation.
Thanks to everybody, which is better. One nation, under God, indivisible, which is the.
All right, just so everyone's aware, this meeting is being recorded by Northern Media, Hitting Public School. Public comment shall only concern items that are within the scope of the school committee. Each speaker will be allowed 3 minutes. Anybody who wishes to address the meeting, please come up to the podium.
Rachel Kearney, NTA President, address out of town. As promised, I have an updated cell phone policy poll for you guys. I know I did this the first school committee meeting. I think there should be one for everyone. We made 10 copies. So we pushed a poll out this week. It was open through today at noon. So as you look at the policy poll, I try to ask similar questions to the first one. Rate how well it's going, how many students are not complying with the policy in your classrooms, and then how many write-ups that you've had to do for cell phone policy violations. So overwhelmingly, it's still rated as either great or good. That those two figures equal approximately 94.5%. So it's still overwhelmingly supported by staff. How many students are not complying with the cell phone policy? We have about 83% that are saying only 3 or fewer students are not complying. And it's important to remember during the course of a school day, teachers see an average of probably about 100 students. They are teaching either 5 or 6 classes a day. So if we say there's an average of 20-ish kids per class, it's about 100 to 120 students a day that they are seeing. So the vast majority have fewer than 3 students not complying. That 15.1% represented, I think, 8 respondents who were in the 4 to 6 range. And then we had 1 staff member who was more than 10. Then for the final question, how many write-ups have we had to do? Again, almost 89% have only had to do 5 or fewer write-ups. 9.4% had to do between 6 and 10, and that small sliver is again only 1 person who has had to do more than 10. So, we've had which is to be expected, a little bit of a drop from some students, but it's still overwhelmingly successful. It's definitely making a positive impact in the classroom. It's better for teachers. It's better for staff. There's a natural pause in the classroom. Kids actually turn and talk to each other instead of all whipping out their phone and just texting their friend 3 doors down. So it's just still going really, really well. And for the few teachers that are sort of not consistently maybe enforcing the rule, we have a climate and culture committee at the high school that I'm on, and we're maybe raising that with our building admin to see what type of steps they can take to get those teachers to sort of come into compliance. Because now that it is a school policy, it is our job as teachers' ability to enforce the school rules. And so if we have some staff that maybe aren't necessarily doing that, that's something that we would ask our admin to address and do what they need to sort of get them to buy into the program, see the benefits, and come into compliance. So are there any questions about the policy? Okay, so I will probably, again, April, May, do one the poll. Hopefully our numbers stay consistently here or better. But again, it's just thank you for enacting the policy. It's made our lives as teachers 1,000 times easier. So thank you for that. And again, the biggest benefit is that it benefits student learning. If I can take one more minute, I might be over my 3 minutes. I just wanted to take a moment to publicly congratulate and recognize our high school principal, TJ Flanagan. He just successfully defended his dissertation last Friday at Northeastern University. So he is now officially Dr. Flanagan. Even though I think he said it's not until May that the official ceremony happens, we're already calling him Dr. Flanagan. But we're all super proud of him, super excited for him. It's a huge accomplishment. So again, I just want to sort of take the opportunity to publicly recognize all the hard work he did to earn that accomplishment. That's it.
Thank you.
Anybody else? We go on to the next item agenda, which is approval of the November 12th open session. So no any chance to read previous?
Yep.
Questions, comments, concerns, edits? So you entertain a motion to approve the minutes as presented. Second. All those in favor? Aye. Abstained? No. 301. Next is the warrants, Justine.
I have reviewed the following school expense and payroll warrants. School expense warrants, November 12, 2025, $904,157.54. December 4th, 2025, $549,716.26. School payroll warrants, November 13th, 2025, $1,200,646.54. November 26, 2025, $1,171,863.05. I reviewed and approved the wish statute on the public record.
You. Next, we have our student reps.
Hello, guys. Hello, everyone. You all have a nice Thanksgiving. From the Yale, they are gearing up for festive winter spirit weeks leading into December vacations. Students have already been showing great enthusiasm with creative hair, hats, socks, pajamas, get warm. Some of the upcoming themes include Winter Character Day, PJ Day, Festive Sweater Day, Yale Pride Day. I think these spirit weeks continue to bring joy and energy to the building. This past week, the unified kickball team played against Foxborough, and it was wonderful to see such strong support from families, staff, and faculty. Players had a terrific time, and a huge thank you goes to coaches Mrs. McAllister and Miss Lily Williams for organizing and supporting our student athletes. Students at the Yale continue to excel across the board. This month's PBIS incentive is a holiday movie during the week before vacation. Every class is working hard to earn it. The school is very proud of their positive effort and teamwork. From the high school, it has also been a very busy time, especially for Spirit Week, holiday decorating, powder puffing, and the Thanksgiving Day football game now behind us. The energy these events brought to the building carried right into last Friday's semi-formal for juniors and seniors, which was a wonderful evening filled with lots of games.
On Monday, we celebrated the members of the class of 2026 by the John and Abigail Academy Scholarship Reception, where students were recognized with certificates for this impressive academic achievement. Looking ahead, our winter concert will take place tomorrow evening at 5:30 p.m. This annual event is always a highlight of the season, and we're excited to see our students showcase their talents and help bring the community into holiday spirit. To round out the month, our staff has also been participated in Spirited Theme Days, adding to the positive atmosphere and creating a joyful environment for everyone in the building. And from the JCS, November was a very full month, and December is shaping up to be just as active. The Friday before Thanksgiving, the school welcomed a drumming performance, coordinated by Mr. Place and the JCS SPO. All students in pre-K through third grade attended the assembly and enjoyed learning about music and instruments. The Little Lancers pre-K program held its annual Thanksgiving family feast on November 19th, with morning and afternoon celebrations so all families could attend. Thank you to Mrs. Blackburn and the entire Little Lancers team for such a warming and welcoming event. Right before Thanksgiving, teachers and staff participated in the Secret Staff Spirit Week, with daily themes that the students had fun trying to guess based on how everyone was dressed. Preparations are underway for the annual third grade holiday concert, which will take place next Friday. There will be a morning performance for pre-K for second grade students, and families are invited to the afternoon performance at 2 p.m. To wrap up the calendar year, JCS will hold a Spirit Week Plus, starting next Monday and running throughout the Tuesday before break. Each day will have a different theme, and Pajama Day aligns with the pre-K and kindergarten Polar Express celebration. That's all from us. Thank you.
Quick question. It's
with hearing from the teachers about the cell phone policy, I'm curious, like, from a student perspective, how you think it's going?
Sure, Dr. O'Neill asked CC9, who's our other communications intern, to share just a little bit about how we felt about the policy. One from newsletters a few months ago, I'd say. But now it just being December, it's honestly really strong in the beginning. I would say all of my teachers were enforcing the policy. Bullying. But now in December, I'll definitely admit that, like, there are a few teachers who are a little light in enforcing it. But I would say overall, I would say that most teachers are kind of sticking to it. And students don't have the habit of it already, so I would say
I agree. I think some teachers are definitely a little bit more laid back, but I definitely think I won't spend too much time on my phone anyways, so it is nice for me to be able to like get it up and put it away and just, I think it actually helps me focus in a lot of classes, so from a student perspective, I know that might not be universal, but I think it's probably the healthiest. Yeah.
And you see the holiday Christmas light.
Right. Thank you. Sorry to put you on the spot.
Thank you.
Anything else? Next we have the opening school remarks, and then we can submit. Long day out.
I'm not sure yet. We're gonna find out. So thank you for joining us here at LGN and allowing me to speak about our opening school this year. It's a little bit different for me this year because usually it's September and I don't have a whole lot to say or show. So this is kind of nice that it's in December this year and I have a few things that we want to highlight. This is primarily some of the stuff that I share at our opening staff meeting here in the cafeteria in August when we get together. This year we had some music playing. We were kind of dancing and partying a little bit. So I refrained from that because I know you have the full agenda tonight. Try to keep this as brief as possible, but we'll have some fun as well. We did welcome some new staff and faculty this year. So every year I go into the summer thinking, I have no one to hire this year. We're kind of in good shape, and then inevitably someone resigns or moves to a different position or retires, surprisingly. So we were lucky enough to add these fine people to our faculty and staff this year. Emily Hunter, our school adjustment counselor, fellow Stonehill grad, awesome people. Susie DePorter, who I think is here. Susie, our best one paraprofessional. Kelly Fontaine and Eric Greenberg, as well in our best one classroom. Phenomenal hires. Susie's also a parent here at LG, and we did amazing. We stole Eric from Mansfield, which I was very proud of living in Mansfield, taking him. They've done a great job. Caitlin Sanborn just started with us as a great paraprofessional last Monday. So she's doing really well. You might know her mom. And then Jen Ogiba joined us from JCS when Rachel Young retired. I'm going to talk about that in a second as well. But we just like to welcome them and show them the LG love. Few teachers this September also earned professional status. Jenna Charest, who's our speech language pathologist, started the same year as me. So these folks started the same year as I did. Mrs. Corey Clinton, who was our other reading specialist, and Holly Maloof, also a parent in town, and teaches first grade current, has bounced between first and second over a couple of years. Soon to be retired, Rachel Young at the time had about a month left in her teaching career. I don't think I've met anyone as passionate as Mrs. Young about early literacy. If you've met Rachel, actually she retired and then 5 days later I asked her to come back and sub for us and she was like, yeah, I'll do that. So we're super lucky to have her and her enthusiasm. And then Mrs. Jen Bronco is retiring at the end of this school year after, I don't know how many years of kindergarten, quite a few years. But we're going to miss her as well. So we celebrated those folks. I've shared these with my faculty and staff over the last bunch of years. I did a MSA PD as principals with Soul of Leadership. This is something I took from them and I've used with my faculty and staff each year since I've learned about it. It's just a way for us to kind of be grounded as adults in the building and get ready for the work that we do each day. So I'd ask you, can you see that all right? I'd ask you just to read these to yourself and maybe choose one that speaks to you. Maybe you love it, maybe you hate it, that's okay too. But I have a couple of favorites myself. Now, number 3, there's always invitation, never invasion, always opportunity, never demand. So I would ask anyone on the panel here, if there's one that spoke to you, you'd like to share it, I'd invite you to raise your hand and maybe share it. And maybe share why it spoke to you. Dr. O'Neill, I know I could count on you. I was either you or Dr. Ackerman.
I believe that it's possible to emerge refreshed, surprised, and less burdened than now. And that is exactly how I feel anytime I get to meet classrooms. Go back to bed.
Yeah, anytime you have a rough day, go visit pre-K or kindergarten. You turn your attitude right around. Anyone else? Dr. A?
Let the beauty we love be what we do. And that's why we do this. We're here for kids, and it's chaotic at times. There's always competing priorities, but we're here for kids, and that's the beauty of our life.
Thank you. One of my favorites is when the going gets rough, turn to wonder. That's important for elementary kids. Sometimes they do some wild things, and instead of kind of attacking them in terms of what are you doing? Why would you do that? Asking them, hey, I'm wondering what's going on here. Why did you say that? What made you say that? And always turning to wonder with kids. Dr. Ackerman, let the beauty be loved. Let the beauty we love be what we do is also one of my favorites, and it's actually the cornerstone of our opening this year. We talked about this quite a lot at my opening meeting, all about love. It's a line from a poem by Rumi. If you want the whole poem, you look it up, or I could send it to you. It's a great one, but it's a really great reminder of why I do what I do. And I think, hopefully sharing it with the teachers this year around sharing that love with kids, and just, it's hard sometimes, right? And you want to make sure you're having fun. Speaking of fun, I've continued my video morning announcements. I started these in March of 2020. If you have any recollection of what happened in March of 2020, this is probably one of the only good things that came out of that time. I do these every day. I get to work here around 7 a.m. and take 3 to 5 minutes to record an announcement. It's one take, warts and all. I make mistakes in front of kids. A lot of the stuff we share, you'll see. So like ST Math, our Gigi the Penguin, our mascot for ST Math, he shows up every Monday morning at least once a week to update kids on their puzzle goal progress. We've done a really nice job over the years. You can see our Super Bowl. I feel like the Patriots with our Super Bowl banners. We've got 80% or more the last 3 years. We've actually been up close to 100% the last few years. And we track our progress as well. So every day the kids can come in at lunch and see Gigi moving up the chart. This little golden Gigi guy was a donation from a family. We hand out golden GGs to classes who have the most puzzle progress. It does get pretty competitive. I mean, I have some teachers over there who always questioning, wait a minute, but we had the golden GG this week. We share great children's literature. I have a classmate from Stonehill who's now an author, and she actually came to visit our kindergartners and did some poetry with them last year. She shares books with us. That's an autographed copy, she was so nice to send. And then Halloween obviously is a special time here at LG. We'll get to that too, but that's me there with my long hair. I'm holding out Purple Hearts. So our PBIS here at LG is handing out Purple Hearts or white hearts here in the cafeteria. Kids can earn those. Sometimes they love to save them and take them home and hang them on the fridge. Sometimes they put them in the Purple Heart towel in the lobby. Every Thursday after school, I pull 5 Purple Hearts and 3 white ones and announce them on Friday. Kids get to come down and select a prize, which I will get to as well. If you'd love to follow me, I know you'd love to. It's Thomas Higgins 3807 on YouTube. Check them out. We have people as far as Lansing, Michigan watching these videos every morning, grandparents of kids. But I did get a message from someone in New Zealand, which I shared on announcements one day, just saying what a nice thing they thought it was, saying the Pledge of Allegiance and sharing our love here in our school community. We also have an amazing segment called Tasty Tidbits. So our wellness committee in town, the nurses put together a bunch of different just tidbits, little things that the kids can read to promote healthy eating. Miss Kim and Miss Linda here in the cafeteria do a wonderful job providing kids with all sorts of fruits and vegetables, and it's just cluing the kids into trying different things. And our third graders do a wonderful job. Mrs. Bjork and Mrs. Lovering and Mrs. Quinn, who are over there, helped me record these tasty tidbits. That's just a screenshot of one. look at that. You got to see the backgrounds, the camera work they do. It's amazing. And Mr. Place, our music teacher, did a jingle for us, which is absolutely amazing. Yeah, tasty. Really good. These are some pictures just from the start of school. Kids kind of getting back into routines. You'll notice I took the pictures because it's like, bird's eye view. But just really kind of, starting the year off strong, getting back with partners and classmates, learning new classmates' names, and just having a lot of fun re-engaging in school each year. We had a chance this summer as a curriculum leader team and myself and across the district actually to do high impact teacher teams, professional development with Nina Friedman over 3 different days. It was 3 days, right? And the team we had was phenomenal. Our curriculum leaders here, a lot of time and effort into what they do at their grade level. We had a lot of fun too. We always try to have fun in our learning because it's important. It's important to me. I feel like when kids are having fun, they want to be here each day. They want to participate. They feel energized and engaged. In addition to that, a lot of this stuff you see is our new reading program, our year 2 of Into Reading. The teachers, by all accounts, love it. The kids seem to really enjoy it, and we're seeing the results. I have to give a shout out to Miss Klinger, aka Mrs. Craniac. She's newly married. She's not here, but she's changed grade levels. I think every year I've been here because we've needed her to. She just jumped right on board. So currently she's teaching 2nd grade. These are just a few pictures of her in her class. Really engaged in Into Reading one day. She was in a high level group who was doing some interesting stuff. And I just love seeing books in kids' hands. Definitely brings joy to me. Look at those faces. So years ago, I asked PTC, my PTC at my old school and currently here, to help support us in terms of getting books in kids' hands. So we give out birthday books, we give out break books. So every day at lunch, anytime we have a birthday, I announce it on morning announcements, and then up on the stage, we have a bookcase full of donated books or books that PTC has purchased. My own kids have donated their books that they never read and will feel nice. Brand new. You didn't even crack this thing once. But the kids are just so excited to get a book and a bookmark and a pencil. And simple things like this go a really long way. So I thank the PTC for helping us support this. That's just a few of the kiddos this year. We had an amazing opportunity. This one came out of, my job is so easy, honestly. I get people come to me with ideas and I'm like, yeah, let's do that. So Mr. Joe came to me and said, Mr. Hayes, I think we should do a touch a truck this year. We have Luca Ferrara is here as an LG student, and his dad runs the DPW. Maybe he would like to bring some trucks over, and the kids can go on the most beautiful day in September to climb on some trucks. And they made it happen, and we had a blast. I offered Miss Bronco, who was retiring, if she'd like to go up in the bucket. She declined respectfully. I think Karen, you said maybe we can superimpose her picture on there for her retirement. It was just such a great day. I had 8 million pictures. I had to choose 2. There they are. How much fun is that? Also, shout out to Mrs. Dermis, our library media specialist. She does a phenomenal job getting programming for us that is absolutely free. We have a great relationship with Young Library Bookstore in Plainville, and they have an author series. I think at the Yale, Ian Colfer is going to the Yale soon. So Philip and Aaron Stead came to visit our kindergarten and 1st graders. It was all inclusive. Every student in the school in KM1 went to the library. They did a phenomenal job sharing their Amos McGee series. Amos McGee has a sick day and Amos McGee's snow day. And I don't want to steal Julie's thunder. She's going to talk a little. Are you going to talk tonight or is it? I am. Okay. Maybe I'll talk a little now. They agreed to give us their artwork in terms of, Julie had this great idea of having a mural out in the library courtyard. And they heard the idea. Julie kind of described it to them and they were like, yeah, we're totally on board. You can have our artwork. And so Erin, who's the wife of the artist, is going to plan a beautiful mural for us. And we're going to be able to have it on the wall outside. And they come to our school for free. The Unlikely Bookstore does a great job with this series. And how can you pass up free enrichment that gets your kids engaged around literacy? So that's a phenomenal thing as well. This year we had That's me right there, if you can't tell. This year we had our Big Heart Hustle. We rebranded this year. Our PTC and I were dealing with Booster-thon over the last few years, and we felt like we could do, I would say, a better job, but a different type of job in terms of donations coming to our school and us keeping the majority of the money. So we had a goal of $20,000. In the past, we've raised upwards of $40,000 with Booster-thon. And when you do full service with them, you generally get about half. So we were leaving with about $19,000 to $20,000. So we set a goal of $20,000. Our PTC did a phenomenal job. Our teachers hyped it up. I obviously hyped it up. This is a logo design by one of our parents. These are actual LG kids in the logo. So we raised $31,000 this year with our Big Heart Hustle, just us internally. It was a lot of hard work on PTC. I give them so much credit. They met all throughout the summer and the fall, getting this ready. The kids had a blast. You see their smiling faces. We had our STEP program kids from the high school with Trish Sweeney. Trish emailed me and Dr. Flanagan to ask if she could bring the kids over in the van. She's like, I've never done it before. We're going to try it out and see how it goes. They cheered on the first group of kids, and then they helped and were mentors to our best one classroom. And, modeled walking around the track with them. There's Miss Pam with some of her former students. She was super excited to see them. It was just a great day. And again, I don't know how we do it, but the weather keeps coming out perfect for us all these days. That's our good buddy, DJ Ooch, the Yo-Yo Man. He is a DJ, and he and I have known each other a long time. So he came out to help me MC the event. He had the music going, and the kids were excited. Just a really, really fun time. So we're excited about that. And hopefully now that it's been done once, we can just replicate it each year and continue the amazing fundraising that we're doing. Little Halloween fun. You saw me. There's the Savannah Bananas. We actually had a first grader who's dressed as a banana, which came in handy for our picture. But Halloween's always an exciting time around here. Kids love dressing up and just having a parade. And I always think, again, if kids are having fun and enjoying themselves coming to school, I remember last year we talked a little bit about how do we make school more fun? And I'm like, I don't know how I could possibly, I don't know if I stand on my head or what, because we make school a lot of fun. I feel like if I'm having fun, kids are having fun. Back to our Purple Heart choice board. I mentioned those Purple Hearts. So every Thursday I pick names. So some of the choices that our kids have, I hate to admit this, but I will. Show and tell with Mr. Higgins is probably the bottom of the list. I think over 4 years, it's true. I think over 4 years, I've had maybe, I can count on one hand, like 5 kids who have chosen show and tell with Mr. Higgins. When they do it, they have a blast. We have a fun time. Top has to be Mr. Joe's cafeteria helper and Miss Tracy's morning helper. Honestly, it makes my life so much easier to have people who are willing to jump in and help, whether it's a school secretary, school custodian, your librarian, media specialist, whoever it might be, our paraprofessionals, everyone jumps in. We've got some just bright, smiley faces here. This guy, Lucas, if you know Lucas, that was a highlight. He had a blast. Jocelyn over here. Em took this picture herself. She's, I think, going to be a flourishing selfie photographer. So they just do a really nice job. And kids, whether it's a prize from the prize box or just a connection with an adult, it goes a long way. One of my favorites, this one's my favorite, is Positive Note Sent Home. Not a lot of kids choose this one either. So when they do choose it, we make a big deal out of it. Dean here chose Positive Note Home. I went to his classroom. I make sound of trumpets. It's like, I make Dean stand on a chair. He's like, I'm not doing that. I said, I'm the principal. It's okay. You can stand on a chair. Miss Klinger said, okay, can I stand on the chair? Yes, you can stand on the chair. He's just such a good kid. So we write a note. I asked the teacher to share some things that they think are positive about their student. I handwrite the note. They send it home. I hope it lives with them forever on their fridge. Well, maybe they take it to college. That's just wishful thinking. You never know. Benson mentioned this, I think. Mr. Place did a wonderful job this November in anticipation of National Drum Day. He, I think last spring, asked PTC for some funding to have the Shindaiko Japanese drum company come to LGN and JCS. When I say it was probably one of the best enrichments I've ever seen, no lie. I've seen a lot of enrichment over the years. The education piece that they gave around the history of Japanese drumming, tied in with multiple performances and songs. The kids were mesmerized. Students had a chance to go up on stage and participate. It was just phenomenal. So, big shout out to Mr. Place. He did a really phenomenal job with that. It was a lot of fun, and hopefully we can continue to do. I know we'll be able to continue to do things like this because PTC, both here and at the JCS, love to see these amazing events happen in our schools. I have to give a shout out to our after school fitness club. We had a couple of fitness clubs this fall. Mrs. Muffring, I don't know how she convinced herself to do this. And then on top of that, how she roped in Mrs. Bjork and Mrs. Haglund. And on one occasion, I think Mrs. Anowich was out there, subject to a fitness club teacher. We had how many kids, Lisa?
We wanted 12.
Yeah.
We got 41.
Yeah, think about that. We said, we'll do 12, and then it grew and grew and grew. Word spread. That's like half our school. So they had a phenomenal time. Lisa did a great job coming up with events for them to do and changing it each week. In addition to the after-school fitness club, Emily Ducharme, our learning specialist, also did a positive walking club with her therapy dog Oreo. And that was a massive amount of kids as well. I think she had over 25 kids in her session as well. We want to continue doing these things. And this was through a grant from the nurses, right? Yeah, Joy Brown. So, again, our teachers going above and beyond and taking time after school to do fun things with kids. Kids had a blast. So hopefully that highlights a few of the things that we love about our school and the fact that love, yes, indeed, can lift you up. And that's all I've got. I could go on for days talking about our school and how much we love it here. But thank you for the opportunity to share my opening remarks. Do you have any questions?
I don't know why I didn't know that.
Yeah, we can use that. Thanks for coming. It's always, to me, I never had kids in this. I was on the other side of town, so I always feel slightly disconnected from this. But seeing the great things we're doing here, and I've always heard great things about the staff. I know some of you personally on that level. So and to your point, as we're a little bit later in the year, there's so much more substance for you, right? But again, like for me, I always feel like I only hear about LG like next year that we plan on building up. All the work, hearing nothing but great things. Kudos to your staff for really making this a great lot of the stairs here. Anything else, Paul?
Thank you very much. Thank you.
All right.
Appreciate it.
Nice to meet you guys.
Next, we have our student spotlight segment with Dawn Brennan.
Thank you, everyone. As our amazing student representatives, as Lillian mentioned, earlier this week, we celebrated 46 seniors with John and Abigail Adams Scholarship. The John Abigail Adams Scholarship is a Massachusetts Merit-based award that provides a tuition waiver for up to 8 semesters at any Massachusetts State College or university. Students qualify based on their strong performance on the class, demonstrating academic excellence across tests and subject areas. The scholarship recognizes high achieving students and supports their continued education in the state's public higher education system. At North High School, members of the class of 2026 who earned this distinction were honored at a celebratory breakfast on Monday, December 8th. This evening, I present to you the list of these students in recognition of their hard work and academic excellence. And I'm not going to read all their names to you, but Benson was one of them, so it's important. And I have to say, this class of 2026 is just an incredible group of students. They're extremely civic minded. They do so much above and beyond academics and athletics and school activities. They're all super involved outside of school. They do a lot of volunteering and everything else in our community. And I'm super, super proud of them. And one of my favorite parts about the other day is we had a couple students that missed the initial come down. And so at the end, when they made it, everybody stopped what they were doing, stopped participating in breakfast. We did our own little ceremony for those 3 kids and welcomed them. We took the new picture. So thank you to Mr. Cersei and his guys department. Thank you to Dr. Flanagan and Mr. Shaughnessy. And it was a great event. So congratulations to these students.
It's always great to see, you know, the hard work of all of our kids. So this one's a little special because my kid's all there, so. You know, it's just, I feel like a special connection to this graduating class. They kind of started their school career when I started my student really career. So, seeing that their growth has been phenomenal. But congratulations to all of those kids there, and great work for sure.
Great work.
All right, next we have IBB grant announcement. Come on down.
Thanks for having us. We are North Liberty Educational Development, or a volunteer nonprofit organization fundraisers throughout the year to enhance curriculum and support teachers in Norton by providing a grant program. Since it began, NEET had the honor of giving over $238,000 to teachers and staff in Norton Public Schools. This year alone, we are gleefully giving out $27,000, just over $27,000 across 9 exciting grants. So I've been in NEET for a while, and that is by far the largest amount we've given that. So we're pretty excited about that. Tonight, we would like to thank all the teachers and staff who submitted their grant requests and acknowledge all of this year's recipients. Some teachers are able to join tonight and speak about their grants, so let them speak for themselves. And when we get to your school, please feel free to come up and join us.
So we'll start here at the LGN. We have 2 grants at the LGN. First up was Julia Blasio, I hope I say your name right, in the amount of $900 for an in-school field trip with barn babies. Barn babies would come to the LGN and set up the animals for students in the Best in Grant program. Animal therapy is a very effective way to help students with their social, emotional, and physical well-being, and we look forward to the students being able to experience this wonderful opportunity. The second grant is Mr. Higgins. Do you want to come up and say a few words? They're both looking at each other. They're like, who's going to do it? Yeah.
It's good margin.
All of you. There's pre-written words if you want to do that.
This is Julie and Linda's brainchild. I can't take credit for this, but the second grant is a group grant from Julie, myself, and Linda for a literacy garden with planter beds, the storybook interactive mural that I mentioned from the Stead family, and a bus reading nook for students, which is going to be, I think you agreed, right?
I did.
Another LG parent here who's going to help us with the bus nook. This grant was fulfilled in the amount of $4,158. Again, all misservice.
At the Yale, we funded a grant in the amount of $1,176 for a math subscription that was submitted by Diane Bruno. This grant is to obtain 4 one-year subscriptions to the program Mix and Math 360. This is a high-quality, multifaceted resource for teachers that will enhance their ability to provide hands-on targeted instructions to 4th and 5th grade students. And then also at the Yale at the middle school is a grant. Would you like to speak to that, or would you like me to do it?
Also,
Middle school. Mr. Goldstein. It's the one. Yes.
So at the Yale and the middle school levels, a grant was funded for unified uniforms for a total of $1,200. This grant was submitted by Mr. Hayward, Ms. McAllister, and Lily Williams. The Norton Middle School Unified Sports Program brings together students with and without intellectual disabilities to train, compete, and grow as one team. This grant will ensure that the Unified athletes are outfitted with gear equal in quality and design to all other sports programs at NMS. And on a personal note, our Unified program is just awesome. They do great work. It's so cool to see them compete, whether it's basketball or bocce or, any of the activities that take place. It's something that, a lot of our students get behind, and it's just a great thing that brings a lot of students together. So it's awesome to hear that they'll have uniforms on par with the rest of our sports teams. So thank you to them.
At Norton High School, we funded 5 grants. First up is Matt Bouchard and Rachel Pilot, who requested a grant for $4,780 for a new cabinet saw that meets OSHA safety standards for the industrial arts workspace.
Thank you very much for the grant. This really does provide the students with the type of cabinet saw they would see in a real world environment, but it also upgrades the best in class safety. I have about 50 wood shop kids, so I guess you could say 500 thank yous because they all still have their fingers and they can do them in if you guys are interested, I recommend YouTubing SawStop and looking at their technology. Basically, if a finger even touches the blade, it immediately drops into the saw and stops. So the worst you get is like a nick on your finger. So it's amazing. Super excited to have it shown. So thank you.
I should say, in funding the grant, we do research, and I did see that.
Yeah.
It's pretty amazing.
Yeah, they do the demo with a hot dog. But the guy who developed it and the owner of the company will put his finger on the blade. He's done it. And you can watch him do it on YouTube. It's crazy. So he really believes in technology. It's pretty amazing.
And we had also asked from Jen Sharon's TV video class, we asked for a full set of cameras for the students to go out and do filming. So you can imagine the TV video class, not ideal to do filming with phone cameras. So he graciously funded over $6,000, almost $7,000 for a full class set of cameras to be used in this TV video class. So we are incredibly grateful for their unbelievable generosity. And so these kids have been doing some community work lately, with helping Officer Dennett do some videos around Alice train and evacuation. They're also working with Mr. McCoy currently doing some things around the Situ Foundation with the toy drive and stuff. So these cameras are really going to be very, very helpful and very great for that class. And we are, like I said, extremely grateful for their unbelievable generosity. Thank you very much.
Additionally, Todd Kiefer and Jennifer Young are collaborating to have students in semester 1 and 2 sculpture courses to be able to collaborate with Cubing Club members to successfully plan, develop, and deliver a public art installation to the annual Attleboro Arts Museum High Art Exhibition and Competition. With a grant for $2,971, they will be building a frame for the mosaic cubing masterpieces, which will then be used after the competition to double their artistic exposure for years to come. And then lastly, Robin Lewicki will be adding 2 new pottery wheels to her art classes at NHS with a grant for $2,844. The potter's wheel is a high-quality instructional material that offers a more advanced skill to clay hand building. Students will be able to create thrown pottery and display it at the annual art show.
And the last one in NHS, Karen Dunningham, is leading a grant for just over $2,500 to obtain 30 new graphing calculators to be shared in math classes across grades 9 through 12. We can't do this without the support of the town. We get this much money from big donors. It's hustle, hustle, hustle. We're all working moms. We all have kids in the schools and can't do it alone. So we thank the town of Norton. We thank all of you. Every time you get a pen in your driveway, you can purchase an Art to Remember project. You drop off a bag of clothing for our Savers Drives. You participated in our big auction in the spring. Every time you do one little thing, you're helping us fund large amounts of money for these grants. So thank you.
Thank you all for coming. It's impressive year over year how much you guys continue to raise to help our staff. There's truly no way to say thank you for our to our staff, but else. All right, next we have Mr. Goldstein for Anthony Middle School.
Greetings, everybody. Thank you for having me here this evening. So once again, I come to you as an annual tradition at this point. I believe this is our 8th year, like you said, I've lost track, quite honestly. But we are taking our 8th grade students once again to New York City. The date for this year's trip is Friday, May 29th. And so we are praying for awesome weather like we've gotten in the past. And so our itinerary, generally speaking, it's the same. And so we are, we're looking forward to a great trip. It's always a very meaningful experience for our 8th graders who, choose to participate. It's a long day, but we're very fortunate to have, a pretty good participation rate. I think our participation rate usually is right around 80% students who choose to go. I think the students who choose not to go, it's really more about many of them tell me, wow, I've been to New York City a bunch of times, or I don't have any interest in going because I'm away that weekend or something like that. But really, the vast majority of students are excited about it, and I think now that we've done it for as many years as we have, I think students just know it's something that they're going to be doing and they look forward to doing it. So, if anybody's any questions.
Take a motion to approve the middle school trip to New York City. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much.
I made an error, so I'm going to go back 1 second to, we have to vote to approve the funding. So entertain a motion to approve the grant for the ASME. All in favor? Next we have the second reading and vote on ADD background.
At our last meeting, I presented, policy ADDA, background checks, student committee. And what we were doing is we were adding, an additional component of our background check process, which is the SORI, the nationwide sex offender registry information. So anytime, we do a background check, whether it's on a staff member or a parent volunteer, we will now include that SORI component as well. And some of the questions that came up the last time were about, like, do we have to go back in now, do background checks on it as well? Lori, that and connection completed in a webinar recently, set up access and using the registry. And they run a batch file on all current employees. So once this policy is approved, they'll run a batch file, and that would be kind of up to date background information on all of our current employees and volunteers who will want to come in. And it will be updated. Right now, Corey's updated every 3 years. Should be updated as well. It's very interesting to me that ultimately the Massachusetts Corey is Massachusetts. So it's definitely important. I think to make sure that we have this aspect. Make sure it's safe for all of our students.
I already seen this last meeting, but can you just give us a snapshot, bringing in a 6th grade teacher? Paperwork said, how high this person, what's kind of the background check process for everything? What is everything that's wrong? And I guess why I'm asking this question, just because is there more we can do? Is there can you consolidate all this into one? I'm kind of
So we will now do 3 different things. So number one, we do the Corey, which runs, it's a criminal background, criminal history check. And that if you want to be a volunteer in our schools or if you want to work for us, you have to have that form. They submit a picture of their license, they fill out the form, it is run in our office. The majority of times they come back very, very quickly. But until we receive your Corey back, you can't start. Whatever the situation is, you're not allowed in the building in that capacity until we receive that back. Everyone is also required to go through the national fingerprinting process. It's $55. You go down to typically it's US, yeah, like a UPS store, they do there, sometimes they keep on the Staples, you have to have your fingerprints done. And so it's $55 if you're licensed by Desi, and it's $35 for other employees. And so that is done as well. And now we will have the story as we have the same. So all three of these, it's unfortunate because, the fingerprinting is national, right? So you get everything within the US. But sometimes that can take a little bit longer, but that can it's a little bit of a delay. But again, can't start until we kind of check you out. 4A is Massachusetts only, and then that's up with I believe, no, that's nationwide. The story is, it's a nationwide sex offender registry.
So I guess my question, I guess my question is, what from the teacher who was school comes, so you would have it in the.
Yeah. So theoretically, the fingerprinting is your backup to the. So if you are a volunteer, you just work. If you're an offender, you can have the fingerprint.
So what is the, who runs it? What-
They're all done in central. So, Lori Pizzati runs all of those documents. So when we hire someone new, all of the onboarding paperwork is actually finally now in 2025 done online. We were still doing a lot of basic work up until a couple of years ago. So they submit everything, and that's just part of the onboarding process. If a parent is volunteering at one of our schools, the front administrative assistant will have them fill out the appropriate form, they'll do a copy of their license, they'll send it over to Lori comes first. And so once it's cleared, then they are able to come back, I think it's a couple months ago, we actually had an issue where we were trying to get support done on field projects to kind of close up some of the outstanding items. And it has been trying to work, but the board process was so slow. Every once in a while, you get something that really takes a while, but then it came back and it was fine. And it's just it's really strange that it happens from time to time. It's all done right.
Okay. And then the fingerprinting thing, so do we pay the $5?
No,
District wise? No. Okay. And then do we know what that look like? What happens? It's like, okay, fingerprint comes through. Does it check out the report?
yes, we get a report.
Yeah.
So for every single query or fingerprinting that is done, I get a report on my desk for every single person, and whether things come back, and if somebody comes back and there's no outstanding offenses or no historical offenses either, we'll just get a report that says there's nothing on it, right? It's the cover page, it's the ending page, it's nothing. And then in the middle, you can see what is what might be on it.
So right now, we do Corey fingerprint, we're trying to add stories.
Right. And it's the story component is not required. But from my perspective, if you're not going to be getting this information from the story process, I think that's a very important that we add to our.
Yeah, and Corey is from Massachusetts, hypothetical, not saying this has happened, but someone was charged with crime in Wisconsin, moved here, didn't register the story, it was sexual database, whatever, it would not pop on their Corey. Now, hopefully, it will pop on.
The fingerprinting component would get, the
Hopefully.
fingerprint, I think that's. We're talking about safety.
Have we ever, this is definitely legal, but have we ever looked at in terms of, well, being able to do this in-house with the police department? And I don't even know if that's possible, but I'm throwing it out there just simply because of what the police have from a standpoint of like name, date of birth, social security number, boom, it's almost instant. Where like, is that something that like you could ever tap into? And again, there might be legal laws around this or anything else.
There may be, and I'll be honest, not really sure. I don't know if the police department has capacity to help us in that way either. It's pretty light lift
Yeah.
in terms of like you just send it through, they give you the report, it says right on. The fingerprinting component the individual has to go
Right.
and you get that.
Well, then there's a charge. Shouldn't have thrown people off with, but.
Yes, and it goes, and it's not like we're collecting the money.
So,
And I'm sure that, you know, whoever the company is that's doing it gets something, and then the federal, fingerprinting, the national fingerprinting office.
and then for volunteers, you know, mom, dad, want to go read. Yeah, sorry, you'll both, but you just both.
It would be Corey and Story,
And so, now, but no back.
no fingerprint.
Yeah, so I mean, I do that to this line.
Oh, yeah.
Identical and all that. And so, we don't have the national, don't have to be out of this, but I have any number of ads on paperwork, things like that.
That's
I think most of it's just all of it. The fingerprinting for sure.
The fingerprinting definitely, and the Tory definitely. The story is kind of something that's new from Massachusetts.
great, thank you.
Of course.
Anything else? All right, now, entertain a motion to approve the ATV background check.
So, second.
Yeah.
All right, next we have discussion on the eighth budget production.
So we are just revisiting results discussed, last month, you have. Remember, that's the dates. So we were talking about actually February 7th, being school committee workshop in Saturday morning. And then March 4th, being the budget. So
To the town hall.
it was 8 over the sheet.
Town meeting.
So,
I mean,
It was March.
no, it's 8, I believe it's the 18th.
I mean,
Monday the 18th is, the meeting. 8 weeks from that is Monday and the 23rd of March.
should be captured.
Wait,
she's here now.
oh, I'm sorry.
This thing, but.
Oh, May 8th. May 18th is town meeting. We have to send our budget to town hall 8 weeks prior, which is Monday, March 23rd. So we have a meeting on the 4th and on the 18th of March. So receive recommendation in the budget hearing on. And have to be at the public hearing.
So we have the meeting to discuss the February.
We would do a hearing.
And. Well, here we do.
You can approve it on the 4th as well, yeah.
And then what's the second? That's the budget workshop, some areas be done on Saturday morning, and others on to after it for the end of the meeting. Really. Meeting on it.
February 7th.
Okay.
And then March.
So it's just, that works.
I mean.
I mean, I deal with around technology and getting to follow. But I also think we probably play this a little bit with here because I think you need a little bit more information from the town in terms of what exactly. You know, everything that's going on here, so.
So we have received documentation from the town in terms of their process. They've already started their process. I believe all departments are required to submit their budget by December 23rd. And I said that does not apply to us. Our charter language is different than the rest of it because at the end of the day, it is the school committee that votes and approves their budget recommendation and then we give it to the town side. So I have, as I've shared with all of you, as I've shared with my team, I'm never going to bring to the table a budget that does not fully reflect the needs of our students and our schools. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring you the budget that I think is what we need. And I'm sure that we will be asked to determine from there.
Yep. Okay, good.
That was what I did.
Yeah, just
Okay,
Saturday, it's just so hard. Saturday morning was so hard. Okay.
so why don't we make that meeting kind of a light agenda and then we can do the workshop? I mean, obviously, it's a public meeting of the committee, so anyone is welcome to attend, just like they would be on a Saturday. But we can make that a shorter agenda and we'll do the budget workshop on this 11th.
Yeah, I think the workshop, we never usually get surprises out of it. Yeah.
Well, the meeting for that in January will be our first, I'm presenting it to, and then we'll have the conversation. With each of them.
And then in terms of presenting to us, be looking at the same ideas last year in terms of kind of like schools and bringing that with those.
Yeah, and
I found that way more helpful in terms of like, hey, it's, 6 areas to look at, 5 schools plus central, routes for just, hey, there's a new budget, whatever.
And we'll ask the principals to attend on the 11th, so that way they can answer specific, questions that you might have. And so Christine and I started budget meetings today, we've met with 2 departments, already. And, I think people are being very conservative, which I appreciate. And, some of the hard conversations have gotten in terms of, okay, if we need to do this, where are we going to reduce in other areas to make it happen? So, we will see how that goes. I didn't spend a lot of time. We'll get going.
Any other questions on it? No, I guess we'll just put it as regular meetings, we don't have to, Saturday.
Yeah, and then, we always have the ability to find out at events.
100%.
Yeah, usually 5.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but I would just make that.
Yes.
Workshop.
Question. It is.
So, let's- Next, we have, open capital meeting plan for spring.
So this is our reflected from town with first design year plan. It looks a little bit different because it's like. So we put together just what we anticipate for FY 27. We will get more backup as it comes in. It was just a little early, and we're working on all the additional quotes. But I'll just quickly go over to FY 27. The town manager made it in this exact format, so we just took what was submitted and we can send that. So our first recommendation is for an upgrade to network infrastructure. I had quite a bit of help from Karen and Paul today explaining all this to me. Because it's a little bit confusing. So like this is a very simple project when we upgrade Wi-Fi, except it's switches, which Paul explained it as the switches is like the post office in your district, and all of the traffic goes there, and that's the switch, and then it communicates out to their class. So those are failing, they're being on. It usually goes about 7 to 10 years, and we're at 15. So it is very costly, which is why we are going to have to help with the E-rate, which will be for 50% of profit. So right now, just to give you an idea, because I think it was 2022, it was around $475,000. So we're guessing it's obviously going to be over a hundred. So, but they will reimburse the 50%, but we have to show the funding these very similar FTA project, that to show it. Unlike them, is they get reimbursed. They will either will pay the vendor directly, but they still have to show that the full funding safe, which is the fact. So right now, parent Paul has been working with the vendors that want to do some walkthroughs, the district, that we might wait. So you would get that as soon as you can. The next one.
So, Richard,
Yeah.
sure, jump in,
Yeah.
So, what is E-rate? Where does that come from?
Karen, you want to talk about Erie?
No, she, yeah, she's here.
Happy to talk about E-rate. So E-rate is a federal program, and what they do from the government, we are a 50% district reimbursement. So it's a schools and library program. We actually get 50% of our internet covered. So if it were to cost us $16,000 per year for internet, they actually pay $8,000 of that. Whenever we look at doing like a big project, like a Wi-Fi project or another type of infrastructure, we could put in for funding. And so because Norton, based on the free and reduced lunches that students and families kind of fill out, we get 50% reimbursement. There are towns that get 20% reimbursement. There are towns that get, cities that get 90% reimbursement. We fall right in the middle. And that changed like from year to year, but as long as I've been here, we have been 50% district. That hasn't really changed in the 12 years that I've been in London. I will say that when I first got here, they were only capitalizing on like the internet, and back then it was phones too. Phones are no longer an option. It's just purely internet and any type of like infrastructure or CAT too, that is what they call it. You get so much money per year, like per 5-year cycle, and we're at the beginning of a 5-year cycle. So once we use that kind of pool of money, and it's quite a significant amount, like we will have enough to cover the 50%. They'll fund us for this. It's not like, oh, we're gonna cross our fingers. They will fund us. It's just a matter of we're doing the walkthroughs with the vendors, very, specific. But, it's 15 years. If you've noticed on some of the school committee meetings, we've had drops when I've reported them. That's switches. Some of our staff might tell you we might have some lags and it's not bandwidth. We have plenty of bandwidth. It's switches. It's all of the infrastructure that we've done over the years. What's happened is more and more of our schools rely on Wi-Fi. They're relying on the network. It's not just our boards and our student devices and our staff devices. It's the cameras. It's the door security systems. It's the heating. It's facilities now. It's taking part of the network. So we really do this.
This would go all 5 schools?
The entire district, yes. And this again would be like a 10-year. It would cover for another 10 years.
Is there like warranties or anything on these things, or?
Oh, yeah. And we get support built into that as well. But we're really looking to build this out so that, again, when you're looking at a 10-year, what can you anticipate for 10 years? I think Paul has been here for 20 some odd years and did an excellent job. When you say these things don't usually last, and they've lasted for 15 years. So.
And then
Is this something that's full of, like, something that,
For E-rate, yes. So if the town were to, need or require any type of infrastructure, they could not be on this project with us because E-rate only funds schools and libraries. I'm sorry?
Public library?
Yes.
It's definitely, you can see it more now. I've noticed it if you can get on a student call or you're at a Google meeting, like a mine. Everyone else is in that meeting.
Yeah.
It's definitely, you're noticing it more often, I think. And so it's like, kudos to all and to parents and their team for keeping us going for so many years.
And this is, let's just say best estimate 500,000.
I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful that it's 500,000 and that our town cost is 250,000.
And then, is this a one-time payment, or is this something we can do over 3 years, something we have done with all the time?
I believe it was like.
$250,000 done.
Yeah.
Both, look like a big bond.
Right.
Yes.
Can it be a phased project?
So,
Paul, I don't know if you want to come over.
can it be like for the first phase?
It could be a phased-in project, but the two biggest portions of the project would have to be phase one, which would probably be 70% of that budget anyways. Which would be the high school, middle school, would have to go first, and that's gonna cost the most money.
Is that how it, I mean, I hate phases. I think phases get the huge other issues that you run into. Then you have a system that's from 2025 and our new system 2029 is in. However, would it go by school? So like hypothetically, if we did the middle school and high school, 2026, Dell School in 2027, like is that how it would go? Or does it need to all kind of be connected onto one?
Ideally, it would be one shot
Yes.
and everything runs full speed. Now you've got just old equipment. I'm getting failures every day, and that just goes down because I'm not getting the right power from the switches. We patch that, we just move things around and make it work.
And thinking about just the status of the schools, I mean, 12 to 15 years ago when the switches were in, internet was different. I mean, it was just a different world then. When we think about the JCS and just the way that building was wired and kind of set up, I mean, if we want to speak to this, it's kind of, it was not
Actually, yeah, even here, the networks were built back in the late 90s, mid 90s, and things were just done totally different. So you're getting, you got a hop from here to there, a hop from here to there, and it's just not ideal.
I'm going to throw a question at you're going to hear. If we reduce the amount of things on the internet, hypothetically at our elementary schools, took the Chromebooks away and other stuff, would this project become cheaper? No. It's not going to matter. It's not going to matter. Doesn't matter how many devices you have. No, because, okay, anything, so think about all your access points go back to the switch. All the phones go back to the switch. All the security kids, everything you see touches network now. It's just, you can't get away from it. So. Oh.
Hurry up.
Thanks, Ness. There's not a cap, it's just really, they say yes or no. Like, sometimes.
So building, if a project goes a cool word amount, you have to bring it forward. So there isn't any specific, well, what, other than lower, yeah, well, that's all right. Yeah, and the other things that are on here are smaller, I'll let Christina speak to them, but, yeah. Yeah, so the next one our next one is the replacement of the door access system at the Norton High School. So I guess it was very consistent. One of the buttons does not work when you look at buttons in, there's nothing. So and now both of them are not working on most of the time, which we thought it was once in a while. So those are outdated, not operating consistently. They was working on it. Really right out the thought we got when he was there. We had it in, but these guys got talking about $25,000, so that was a little bit lower. And then also the last one is just our second year of the Norton High School technical ladies that we got last spring for this fall. And then these other tech displays on there just because they wanted that 2027, but we're not gonna discuss it till the meeting.
So this is the challenge with 10-year capital. The replacement of the front door access to the high school just kind of pops up at every day. It was installed when the building did the addition of the rental. About 10 years old, which to me seems like it should last long. Right, And so, but to me, that's a school safety issue. We can't have forced props and we can't have people not be able to get in. So if it's, if you've ever been in the high school office in the morning, that place is crazy. There are kids coming in and out, staff members coming in and out, parents. It is truly the busiest office that we have. And so something that wasn't on our radar is now number 2 on our priorities for this. So, while we handed in this 10-year plan to, the town earlier today, this afternoon, we know, and I'm sure you guys all know as possible, that there are things that are going to move in and out, and, there are things that we can predict, and there are things that we can't predict.
The only thing that kind of sticks out to me, it's more of like, do we need it type of thing, is being a one-to-one policy district. We have a need for just the thousand high school. We kind of last one, we get there, and if we don't just have a classroom.
So some of the software, and again, parents are to get on after we talk to this before, but we have like a TV video class that uses specific software. We have some of our engineering classes that uses specific software that have to run on actual computers versus Chromebooks. So Chromebooks are always web-based. So we have to install specific software. We can't all move to that. So like and sorry, I might be using dated lingo here. Of course, Rachel Pilot's not that big. It's not very work.
So you
We used to have a Canada. And so that was like for engineering and design, those types of things. So you can't put that software.
can.
I know it was actually, I was gonna have, some sorts of,
But I'm doing okay.
you're last week.
And the only other one that kind of came up would be that garage where it was building, just looking ahead. Would that be something like that we talked about? I think I'm looking at this and saying, yeah, let me kind of. We should be that building.
No,
Yeah,
okay.
that's I agree, and like, there's lawnmowers and there's another tractor. Yep. Like, I don't know, Jared might not be saying this, but like, would a grounds department in the town be of something of interest, perhaps?
So I think that's why we have these things on this list.
Right.
Because,
Yeah.
it's important to have this conversation. So if we retain our grounds, or what our grounds equipment, there are things that are going to be outside, right? That garage behind Old Senior Center is not a safe. And it's, the wear and tear over there. So, they're on here, to have this conversation.
So, I guess kind of on that, to just say something into is, if we, I said, just. Don't tell me to get loud. So I assume, Roger, if we go up for a John Deere tractor, we get the same prices like I.
Yes, it's all off the state bid list, so it's not, they don't get a better price because they're town versus.
No, I
They
think.
I just had a quick question. So if I see the tech switches in FY 27, but then they're come back again, but it's upgrade network infrastructure in FY 34.
It's the same thing, so it's, they were set up in the same year, it was projecting out, grand faults, like, so I was like, why are we doing this again? And that was the exact same thing, so that we don't go this 15 years that we should have done it.
And then we looked around the room and said, "You still gonna be here in 10 years?" We will be. Right, Kristen? Yep.
Sometimes I feel the broken record, but I just feel like we don't do capital correctly. I feel like we get this in one meeting, try to go through all these things, vote on it. We don't even know how much things it cost us.
Yeah, and I would not vote on anything after FY 27.
Yeah, but like even FY 27, are we talking $750,000 for these switches? We're talking $400,000. what's our thing to the town? I hate voting on things without knowing numbers. And again, I understand the town needs it. You know, I'm sure the new town manager, maybe it's doing those sooner than has been and so on and so forth, but like, I feel like we need to start covering capital back in September. So we can get these questions done, because there's a huge thing on here that no one's thought about. That's gonna be probably about $1 to $2 million, probably $2 million. It's gonna be a replacement of the turf fields.
That's another conversation that we actually had today, in terms of, our athletic revolving account and the fields account. And so we can actually present to you maybe at a meeting in January, what the balance of that account looks like. And so Christina, Wade and I had a conversation about where we want that account to be. Because we know we're going to have to, we're going to turn fields,
And like,
next week to get them.
and again, maybe this, I'll take fault for this.
And we don't have those things.
But like, I would just love to see what we have done, what we're looking to do, what our projections are. We know things are gonna come up. School safety is number one. That, if that thing has to be moved on to a capital project, they're gonna move on to a capital project, just as if police stores are open, they're gonna do the same thing. But like, I wanna see it, like, I just need to have a little bit more, I don't even think it's detail, it's just a little bit more of a clearer picture of, here's what we have done. We requested this last year. It was in yellow last year. We're now turning it to red, because now we're really see. Hey, this is green. We know this is coming. Tech switches in 10 years, a turf field, retiling something, whatever. That can be green. We've done a good job maintaining it. It's now in yellow. But we need to set this up so that we can actually plan and have a clearer picture of exactly, what things are costing. And I think the other issue that I really have is like, I feel like we've missed out on a few opportunities simply because like the town approved every single capital project over the last 3 years. So like, should we have been putting more stuff in? Should we have been like, hey, this is a yellow. If we got $30,000, we can check this off the list now because the town has the funding. Let's do it. So, a lot.
No, prior to the 3 years, again,
But this is what something.
Right, yes.
So that's,
Yes. But we can submit this to the town. We can have our own.
Yeah, and we can give you our own, and our own is just a little bit more funky right now, just trying to get it to a 10-year, 4-year.
Another thought, because like say you discuss September, that's more going to tackle the fall one. So we're kind of like we've been getting those bullets, and so it's, and then this particular one comes up very quickly. We finally got that we did October, we finally did the top contract and getting that ball rolling, and then also the super student. So maybe in September when we discuss the fall, at the same time, we can discuss the spring. We do it all together, maybe that's easier.
I'm not even against do a budget, Chuck. Let's do a capital budget. Like, I don't know, like, that way everyone kind of can understand. We have a little bit more information than, not for nothing, but a few numbers on a piece of paper and be like, oh, we might have these projects on, And I'm not saying if that's for this year, I'm just saying, and I know the 10-year thing out of the rates. To try to project exactly what you're doing, but a 3 to 5 year window is typical.
Yeah, doing it 5-year, which I think was a little bit more manageable and, more accurate, I think. And so we can definitely do that. We also can bring back around our other development that we've used in the past that we kind of funding business facilities. This was school safety, business teaching and learning. We have the, we like that.
Yeah,
Here they were but originally.
Yeah, yeah.
because there's only gag is 1%
Right.
That's the
Oh my God, never.
Right, yeah. I'm assuming that's this is everyone doesn't, this is one rate that things.
Yes, so everyone has the exact same sheet and like we could go through and we could look at, okay, what did DPW ask for, what did fire ask for, it's like so you can see everything.
Yeah.
The other thing that I think is important for us to remember is that we typically have more luck at the fall time for capital than we do in the spring. Because in the spring, we're trying to get the actual fiscal budget for the upcoming school year. We don't know what our free cash is really going to look like as much. In the fall, there's the big property cash every year, so that we tend to do well at that time. But again, I don't know if that will change either.
Jurisdiction of what's going on.
What is the update on it?
Yes. I believe it's done. I think they were out there, before, yeah. I'll get you guys an update for your guys that month.
Anything else?
What? So,
They don't have to go tonight, come on.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, we're voting for the night.
That's fine.
So we don't have any deadlines. We've already submitted this to them.
We've moved things fine, it's so early.
Yeah.
But then move around.
Yeah, and it doesn't take the whole month, somebody said it would need.
Yep.
This December, yeah, whatever.
And I mean, that's sure, assuming, we do about that a little bit too, but hypothetically, a door here falls off its hinges in place. That's something we could emergency put on in March.
Right, and
Okay.
Well, that's what happened to the, case at the elevator.
Yes, that's,
Yes.
right,
Yeah,
yeah.
do that.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, I mean, you could look at this,
Correct.
you know, John Deere tractor. Well, what if that has a catastrophic failure and it's our only one? It's gonna get all clean.
Right.
It, like,
Correct.
this to me just looks like a generalized wish list of 10 years. The things we would anticipate because we're being proactive, like, that's why you see the network switches twice, because it should be 10 years, not 15 to 17 years. No, I mean, I think this is just, to me, this looks something like, he's just trying to be a little more efficient, but, you know, as we all know, schools can't really do more than 5 minutes. They're thinking of 5 hours. That's not.
And, you know, the town does have, you know, emergency funds, if for some reason we needed that. It's the whole conversation about the middle school roof, when the permanent building committee and the finance committee said, if you need money to fix the middle school roof, to get you through the winter, let's do it. You know, you need to do, come back to finance committee, bring your receipt, so to speak, and we'll get you. So, I think that's important. No.
All right, next we have the student assessment data.
Now, Mr. Schleifer had asked that other info. Do you want to, for us to have all that info, or do you want to do this tonight? And,
I spoke with Ryan quickly, I think we might as well do it,
okay, cool.
and then,
Yeah, that's
yeah, get some additional info out next meeting.
wonderful.
I probably not get on it.
So I wanted to just take a little bit of time and just share with the committee the results of our student achievement assessment report from last year. To give everybody a little bit of background, we've been a busy place doing a number of things over a number of years. So we've had IMT assess other schools now for over 4 years. We're currently in the third year of a number of curriculum adoptions. I'm not going to read the clock to you, but we've been busy at all 3 levels. And in fact, this year, we're going to be looking to add additional math materials at the high school and additional science materials at the middle school. So we continue to have an active and ongoing curriculum adoption process. Additionally, we always pair our curriculum materials with professional development. So Tom had mentioned this earlier this evening with the LGM. We had high impact teacher teams this year with a large cohort of administrators, principals, and teacher leaders to really look at the power and efficacy of teachers working together and focusing on the most important data, which is work that we're going to continue throughout this year. Additionally, we have an offering of English language learner 3D at all 5 schools. In elementary, we're focusing on interreading. And this year we brought aboard for tier 2 and tier 3, Spire, which is a reading intervention system that has a strong evidence base behind it. At the high school, we are continuously updating our curriculum maps. Over the last year and a half, we've created an intentional time for the middle and high school to come together to talk about longitudinal connections, content, and curricular connections. As I mentioned earlier, we're looking at math and science at the middle school, math at the high school. And we have formed, thanks to Karen and a number of folks, the Artificial Intelligence District Task Force. And we hope to begin for our high school folks, professional development later this year. And for each of our early release days, when we have professional development, we almost always build in dedicated teacher time to take the new learning and unpack it together. So I wanted to focus this evening, I think it came from, it may have been Nick, I don't remember from where, but a little bit more information about our STAR assessment. And basically, our STAR assessment is a nationally normed assessment. And what that means is we compare Norton students, students across Massachusetts, and then across the country to get a really large data set as a basis of comparison. So it's a good progress check for us as a basis of comparison across the state. It's given 3 times annually, beginning of the year, middle of the year, and the end of the year. And we are a bit of an outlier. Our students begin kindergarten and actually take STAR all the way through grade 10 in both math and ELA. So STAR is really important because it gives us a longitudinal piece of data that can help us identify and support our struggling learners. It also tracks progress over time. So the student begins their time in Norton, we can follow them with STAR data all the way through 10th grade. And it really helps our teachers to look at what the STAR score says, what their classroom data says, and then for students that may be in the intervention process, to have another data point to talk about the next steps in service.
All right, quick question, just strictly with me, I think I know the answer, but student A is in Bridgewater rating and takes STAR in kindergarten as well, making that up. Can you request their results from K through 3 and then see if like we're seeing more progress as they come in or not?
It would be difficult because there would be student privacy around that data, and STAR is proprietary.
Okay.
That would be tough.
Yeah.
So one really important measure on STAR is something called student growth percentile. And what that does is it measures the student's progress over time in a percentile basis. Percentile from 1 all the way to 99. A student that is at the 47th percentile scores at or the same as 47% students across the country. When we talk about that, and then we reference that with the large percentiles, we look for students that are growing typically, and that falls at the 35th percentile or above, or high growth, which is the 70th percentile or above. That's really our goal. And our intent around benchmarking is to identify students that perhaps are below that 40th percentile to give them additional help via IMTSS. And the district benchmark that we're using this evening really is designed for that purpose, to identify students that may need additional intervention. So student growth is really important because every student that comes to us and walks into a classroom has a different skill level. So this is kind of an apples to apples comparison. And what we look for as educators is 1 year worth of growth during one school year. That's really an important piece of how we look at growth. So the first table I want to show you is the STAR SGP in English language arts by school from the fall of last year to the end of last year. So this over here on the right is the percentage of students at our schools that took these assessments that are either at or above typical growth.
So Brian, should that say spring of 25?
It's fall, we took, yes, it should, yes, my bad.
I was reading that and I was like,
Yes, it should say, spring 25.
yes. So when we see LG Norse, K through 3, obviously, that is last year's 24, 25.
Yes,
Got it.
yes.
Okay.
And then when we look at fall 24, it should say thank you, Nick, spring 25. These are by school percentages of students at or above typical growth, which again, I think we always strive for improvement, but this does show progress for our students.
So I guess one of my questions is like LG North, right? And I think this is where my question from my email came from is 78% of our students at LG North, ELA, are testing on STAR at or above typical growth of last year. That seems probably really good. Taking that guess, I don't know if that's for sure or not. If you compare that, this is where I was talking about with the state.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, it sounds good. 78% good or 78% in the middle? Is it low? Like, where are we? Because that's where I was kind of saying, like,
Sure.
where do we look for Massachusetts? What do we look for at Dark? What do we look for in
I think when you have the majority of your kids making typical or above typical growth, that's a strong positive sign. The goal is, I'd love to see everyone at 80 and above. But that's a high aspiration. But as long as you're seeing students make progress over time, I think that gives us some positive data.
Got it. And then, I don't even know if we can answer this question, because I think if we could, we would try to fix it. But like LG is 78% in ELA. And for percentage wise, they're our best school. But then come math, they go down to 57.6.
And that's where one data point is always interpreted with caution. It's valuable, it's important, because having almost 60% of your students at or above is still a solid metric,
Yeah.
one we always want to increase. But that is just one data point, in the overall equation.
Yeah, I guess when I look at this from ELA and by school, the Salmonese school goes from 73 to 63, 10%, okay. Middle school goes from 66 to 63 in math. The Yale school stays right around the same. High school stays right around the same, but a massive drop at LG. So it's just like, again, I don't know if we know the answer exactly. It's just bad class with math. I mean, in both.
It really honestly could be any, because it is one data point
Yeah.
and over 1 year, and the growth itself is still, the percent is still pretty strong. The next one I wanted to show you is then this breaks it down by grade. So that's fall, again, it should say fall 24 to spring 25, that's my fault. But again, if you're looking at those grade levels going all the way from 2 up to grade 10, those numbers are pretty solid.
Do you also think it's safe to say, as they get older, they're starting to realize that this is a standardized test and I don't really care about it, and there's no real grade on it, so they don't.
I think there's some function of that, yes. I would say that,
But I do.
yeah.
And then why don't we have K in one of them?
So kindergartners take something called STAR Early Literacy, which is a different test. And then some grade 1 students also take early literacy. So it's hard to get the apples to apples comparison. And this next table shows fall, it should say fall and spring, STAR SGB math. And again, similar, the percentage of students at or above typical growth is solid. I think we want to obviously always be on the high end of that. But that, I think that's helpful to us. So this is a super busy table, so I just want to take a moment to explain it. So if you go over to grade 2, these results here are actually for students who took this in grade 1. These are current grade 2 students. So this represents for ELA, the percent of students in grade 2 that were at the fall, or at or above the fall winter benchmark. And then that blue represents the percentage of these students who are now in grade 2, but these are grade 1 scores, that were at or above the district benchmark in spring of 25. So what we hopefully want to see is we get growth from blue to red.
Red to blue.
Yes, red to blue. Thank you. Where the yellow falls in are those students, so these are current grade 4 students who took the MCAS in grade 3. So that is, it's the STAR data juxtaposed to MCAS data all the way through the relevant grades from 2 to current grade 11 students. But these are results from grade 4. And I'll just give you a minute to take a look at that. And then similarly, on the next slide, is the math crosswalk. So again, if you're looking at the fall benchmark, the spring benchmark, and then for those grades or students that took MCAS the previous year, they're at or above proficiency level. So we know with MCAS data, it's a little bit sticky because of the ballot question last year. There's been a ton of work that's gone back and forth. There's all a new graduation guidance from DESE because obviously they can no longer mandate MCAS. So that's had a little bit of a sticky effect for us. But what I'd like for us to just take a look at is to focus on grade level cohorts. So that's following students longitudinally. And again, we want to focus on that growth. So this is the middle to high school ELA cohort data, starting with students that were in grade 6 in 2021, which again was a wonky year test-wise. Following them through 7 and 8, they didn't test in 9, and then grade 10. So overall, in the meet and exceeds over a 4-year period, we're up slightly. For the middle high school math cohort data, again, it's relatively similar from 21. We have seen some increase overall from those students, but it has been, relatively consistent. Then our elementary to middle ELA cohort, we've seen a nice growth in the exceeded category. And then looking at our elementary to middle math cohort, we've had a little bit of a drop, which isn't to be totally unexpected because we have had 2 new curricular programs. So there sometimes is a little bit of a implementation, what they call an implementation dip. And then for our elementary ELA cohort, we did have a little bit of a decline, but again, that I think comes from a new program that takes a couple of years to embed the language and the routines and the structures. And the last cohort slide is the elementary math cohort data. And again, a little bit of decline, but again, I really do believe some function of that is new curriculum materials. And again, having some changes in the MCAS laws. So just kind of summarize the data, I think looking at SGP, we're making some progress. I think all 5 of our schools have a majority of students that are at or above typical growth, with many having high growth. And there's some positive movement in the middle high school MCAS math cohort. Again, MCAS is one measure. I know it's complicated. We always want our scores to go up. And we did see some cohort moves that we haven't decreased. Again, we take this data seriously. We're going to continue to focus on all of our students, implement our instructional materials of the company PD, circling back to the high impact teacher teams to really look at that data that matters most and leveraging the expertise of our teachers, and continue to have ongoing longitudinal connected professional development that also gives teachers time to assimilate. I know that wasn't as much fun as Tommy's.
Never very sorry, right? I think it's really interesting, to see this data, as you believe what audience, all able to see, we definitely saw some lines and our empathy done. But it's really interesting because the anecdotal conversations that I have with teachers, specifically around the math program or the learning program. Great example, Mrs. Hill, who's a freshman teacher where GCS was probably for me all of last year. And so I was happened to be in her classroom a couple weeks ago, and she said, it's amazing to me to see the difference in number sense and understanding of math from this year's group of students, because I wasn't here last year. And I wasn't here to see what it looks like kind of building through. So I think MCAS is obviously getting a lot of negative press. There's a lot of conversations that are happening around the benefit of the assessment. There's a lot of conversations I think about, how much effort you can put in. And so I think that for Brian, showing some STAR data and comparison to MCAS data, I think that's really important for us. Because we say all the time, it's one group, and hearing from teachers and kids about what's actually happening in the classroom,
Yes.
it's really, really powerful. The negative of that is that the state is still judging us on MCAS data, and they will continue to judge us on MCAS data. There is no plan at this time to move away from it. So it's definitely frustrating. I know that there's a lot of educators that are in that track control in my role, but we've been working with the state and having conversations with them about the need for other measures, including multiple assessments and multiple feeders. What's our action?
Yeah, I think it's the data points. I've been on school committee now for like 4.5 years. To see how our students are doing is the hardest thing to judge. Simply because, one, we get a bird's eye view of 50,000 feet above the baby. We're not daily in the classrooms. Like, we kind of see the kids go from first grade, second grade to, 8th grade, 9th grade, whatever, and kind of just see that progression. But we never really know how they're actually doing. So when we get the MCAS data and we're seeing the MCAS stuff, and then obviously now with the STAR, like, to me, the more data we can get on what's happening, very crucial. And I think ultimately, being one of the people who, sat on this committee, approving new curriculums for lots of money to the town. To me, it's very important to say, hey, okay, if you pick this curriculum, we have the curriculum team and teachers and that, and we're hoping to, by approving this, we're hoping that this is supporting our students. We want to make sure it's actually supporting our students. And then if, hey, 5 years, we're kind of like, hey, pivot, maybe this isn't right for us. Like, we need to be able to use exactly this type of, information. It's just like that. And again, I get it around MCAS, I still being really bad. Standardized testing, even the STAR stuff, like, it is not the greatest, it's not the best thing in the world, but that's all we did. And that makes it very tricky to kind of see and compare and know, hey, where is North Dakota? I've obviously looking at all the results, going back to the MCAS when it first started mattering in 2003. I've gone through the DESI website and gone through exactly where North has always been. We've kind of always floated above state averages. And, over the last, give or take 7, 8 years, we've kind of dipped a little bit low. And now this is concerning again to see, like, it looks like we're falling behind even more, yet are we actually falling behind? Where is the state averages? And that's why I think bringing in STAR data is also important, because again, that gives us now 2 data points. Now we can say, hey, the MCAS, the whole state came down. We were, state average last year, we're state average again this year. Hey, look at the STAR data, we're doing better in these areas, and then we can kind of start maybe taking a wild guess of like, all right, how do we make the MCAS still be important? What's being driven from admin to principals to teachers to home to students? What's that connection saying? Hey, you are going to take the MCAS. It is important. We need you to do well on this test. How do we get our parents and our community members also involved in that? And what does that cost them?
We are one of the few districts with regard to the policy that's, we're asking our high school students to sit for the MCAS.
there are other places that are not asking for that at all. So I think we're trying to keep an appropriate level of, fidelity to the metric. Whereas it is true, there's mixed messages really everywhere. And we're still waiting for a little more specificity on the state on something as well. Because when that ballot question asked, Desi had a whole new reconfiguration. And then I guess obviously next steps. I feel like we hear these a lot. What, focus on the whole student? How? What does that mean? I feel like we've been focused on the whole student for the last 4 years. So are we doing anything new? Are we looking to be like, wait a second, maybe I'm making this up again, but ITMSS, maybe that's not the best thing we're gonna go. Are we gonna pivot? Are we looking at, what are we doing from an SEL standpoint? Like kind of what is the focusing on a whole student? We've been doing focusing on a whole student for the last 4 years. Our testing scores seem to be trickling down, if you want to say it that way. If you ever say averages, I should say. Like, focus on the whole student. How? What are we going to do? How are we going to make this better?
So I think some of the community work with them this year, this summer we did the high impact teacher teams, professional development. So it was all those principals, our central office team, and all of the teacher levels, so active coordinators, team leaders, the middle school, curriculum leaders, staff, and level. And that all focused around looking at, so when you think about things like what is that? It really focuses on looking at student data and using data from the classroom day to day to make educational decisions about where the students are going to be. So that work has been very beneficial. That is part of our strategic plan as well, when it talks about creating data systems and data protocols for schools. So that's been really helpful, and a lot of our schools are doing really good work with that. When you say look at the whole child, we mean more than just a member of students. So our attendance feeds in each of our buildings. If a student is not here at school, then they're going to have a hard time keeping up with the learning that's being presented on the. So that's really important. If a student is having mental health issues, social emotional things, and they're not available to learn, so how can we meet them where they are and help them to be ready to take on this academic challenges. And so a lot of the work in professional development, I remember having a conversation with Dr. Bayetta many years ago. They were first rolling up the UAS, but it's like it's taking a long time. I told them, yeah, it takes a long time. So it's if you want it done, or do you want it done right, is what I said to Joe. And so I think that INTSS process is a multi-year one, and the hit teams, which every time people hit squad, and I'm like, focus on it. Like that's our next step on INTSS, really giving teachers specific protocol about how to look at data and what to do. When do you really dive in and you look at data across all of your grade level classroom? It doesn't have to be just a STAR assessment or just outcomes. Like at that point, it's open. Like what assessments do we have with you on a day-to-day basis where we can say, okay, I gave this exit ticket at the end of class yesterday, and I'm going to now pull these 5 kids this morning because they clearly didn't get it. And we're going to do a small group while other kids are working on next line. And giving teacher permission to do that, to stop and pause for a moment and say, these are the things that we need to do. And I also think it comes down to building toolboxes, right? One of the conversations we had the other day about classroom placement at the elementary level, and how when I was a classroom teacher, I got a certain type of kid. Every single year, they said, Jen O'Neill works really well in this type. But if your picture holes into that area, then you're not building your tools, like your toolkit. Say, we need to have her work with this, profile of student this year, so she can develop that. And then that way you're building the capacity of teachers. We tend to pigeonhole people, and it's not good for professional growth. But it's not good for kids either. So it's really important that we're looking at what types of training we're providing to our staff so that they can have the confidence to make these exceptional decisions.
How many hours of professional development are we required to provide teachers? Or how many, hours are we also required to
like.
So as a district, we are not required to provide a certain level. When a teacher is going to recertify, they need 150 BPs. It was not, it's a 5-year cycle, 150 BPs. And so that they need specific professional development points in certain areas. So if you need a certain, and I'll be really honest, I can't tell you the numbers off the top of my head, right? It used to be like 30 of them had to do with content, or 90 to pedagogy, or vice versa. And now they also need to have 15 that are specifically targeting special education, 15 for Ls. So they need that, but they can get those in a lot of different ways. So they can earn credits by taking their graduate course. They can earn credits by the professional development that we offer here in the district. Some of our more in-view classes that we offer, going to a workshop, going to a conference. There are a lot of different ways that they can earn those, but we are not obligated by the state to provide a certain number. We are just, we're required to provide professional. And so the reason we started maybe a number of years ago was to be able to provide teachers with professional development that align with our strategic goals in a way that is cost effective. So instead of hiring someone to come in and do professional development on universal design for learning for 300 staff members, we offer all these little different types of workshops that people. A couple of years ago, we did year-long book studies, and staff could choose from probably, it was 21, 22, probably 15 to 20 different offerings, and all the admin led them. So like, instead of on earlier book stage, you might have in high school together, but the elementary school, you're all learning about something that's tied to our strategic goals. It's really not getting creative for us.
I'm just thinking with all of the activities around professional development. It is important, but it's also time the kids are not in the classroom. And I'm wondering if there needs to be a shift, perhaps, in how we do some of our meetings to encourage more in the classroom instead of once or twice a month out.
So I think one of the strongest tools we had was our coaches, our curriculum coaches. So Gia is at the back. She was our elementary reading coach. Mr. Deeds was our elementary math coach. And one of the best things was that they attended every PLC. And they would go to PLCs and they would look at data with classroom teachers. And then they would push into the classroom to how it's professional learning. So our teachers meet once a week, usually 3 times a week. 3 times a month throughout the course of the year. And it's part of their 35 additional hours of their contract, before school or after school. And it's centered around instructional practice. And so she would do that. And then they would push into the classroom and they would co-teach a lesson with the teacher. Or they would help the teacher look at their student data and say, okay, what's our plan for these kiddos over here that didn't understand? These kids over here are like totally moving. What could we do with that looks that's right here? And they would also help to facilitate the grade level intervention blocks. So sometimes that was, helping students plan. Sometimes it was speaking groups. So when we lost those positions in the spring of 24, we lost a lot of that building speaking, which was really valuable. And so, Dr. Ackerman is one person. He is overseeing curriculum and instruction from pre-K to 12 in all subject areas. And, that's the kind of capacity. So, do those types of things. And, some of our principals are really, really good at instructional leadership. And others don't want to.
I think, just I sent a quick email today, or yesterday, when I sent it, I'm just taking the data, you kind of giving us a little more of a campus to state dark schools, stuff like that.
Madam Chamber.
Yeah, that was sure, that's better. You thought that maybe that, well, that did.
All right, next we have update on the district. Yes.
Okay, thank you all. I'm happy to, welcome Dr. Ross Faber tonight. Ross is down in, I believe, New Jersey, and so he's joining us virtually. Dr. Faber, can you hear us okay?
Yeah, I can. I'm just trying to get my video on here. Oh, there we go. Oh, it's off. Push the button once.
We're just gonna
Ah.
turn you up a little bit louder.
Oh,
I hear you.
you need me to be a bit louder?
No, I think it's the system we have here. I just need it to be a little bit louder, so we're working on that. Wouldn't mind giving
Okay.
us 1 quick second.
I will use my outdoor voice.
Thank you for joining us tonight.
Okay, my pleasure. What I'd like to do before I start, I'd like to share my screen, so I need permission to do that.
Okay, working on that. All right.
Okay. Can you see my screen now?
See I think a mood.
Well, I'm gonna make it's, hang on a sec. Slideshow beginning. Okay. So, again, I am sharing, but can you guys see it?
We can only see your desktop, but we have the presentation here. So if it's easier for you to just see us, and then we can move the slides forward, we can do that for you as well.
Okay, let me try sharing one more time. If not, I'm absolutely willing to have you guys, just give me a second here, stop share. Okay, share. Screen 2. Yes, no?
Now, thank you.
Is this working for you?
Yes, it is. Thank you.
Okay, great. Okay, so first of all, good evening, everybody. You've had kind of a long afternoon into evening, so I will try not to be boring. Okay, and keep my voice moving so I don't put anybody to sleep. So anyway, having said that, what I want to do tonight is give kind of a brief overview as to where we've been, where we are, and where we're going in terms of this project. So just the first slide. Okay, here were the tasks that were part of this project. First was to develop a 5-year enrollment projection using the cohort survival method, which is cohort survival just is the way of projecting students based upon live births, attributed to the community. Kindergarten students who come in 5 years later to develop an average between kindergarten and births 5 years before, and then a 5-year history of the actual enrollment in the district and averaging that out and using that average to project forward. That's the cohort method. So that was the first thing we did. The second thing we did was conduct a facility utilization analysis to assess the impact that enrollment changes may have on school capacity. So what we do is we take the projections, we tie them into the instructional space in each of your buildings, and move that out 5 years to say, okay, here's where you are now, here's where you're going to be 5 years from now in terms of instructional space. And then we created data infrastructure to evaluate the existing school boundaries and evaluate any concerns that may result from enrollment changes. In other words, what we're taking a look at is how do the projections impact the facility, and does that impact require us to do other things to either equalize enrollment or program or that kind of thing. So that's kind of the direction that we go in. This next slide really talks about the relationship that I just spoke about. Okay, the basis of any of these studies is enrollment. That tells us where you are and where you're going ahead. And then that gets applied to the facility. Again, as I said, taking the projections, spreading them out over the number of instructional spaces we have in each building, and then finally seeing if this would have any impact on school boundaries, school attendance zones. So that's the overall approach that we take. Okay, so now what have we done to date? Well, as I said, we did the initial enrollment projections. We did initial student geocoding and boundary development, and I'll show you that in a minute. We visited we site visited all of the school buildings, and that's been done. Then, along with the projection, the enrollment projection based on births and history, we also take a look at how any potential new housing construction might impact future enrollment, and that gets tied into the long-range projection. And then from all of that, we go back and review what we found and update any of the tables or anything that we need to see in regard to how all of these things are impacting instruction. Okay, so geocoding. So this is a district-wide map. Each dot that you see on the map represents a student geocoded to their home, their residential or parcel address. Okay, so you can see that there is density, a lot of density in the northwest part of the school district, but because school grades 4 through 12 serve all students, they will flow through that, and the centrality of the schools, the high school, the middle school, and this is Yelly the right way to pronounce it?
Yeah. You don't
Okay,
get the E at the end.
Okay, and these three schools with everybody attends, they're all centrally located, so it doesn't create major impacts on transportation. Okay, now what you're looking at here, you're looking at the Norse and the Salamanese. Get them on, make sure.
Close enough.
Salamanese or Salamanese?
Solomonese.
Or JCS.
Okay, Salamanese. Okay, so you can see that the two boundaries aren't the same size, but that's because Salamanese is a bigger school. So that generates the size of the attendance zones. And it also, having these boundaries also does limit the impact on transportation. So we've geocoded all of the kids to the map. We have them in place. We can count them in zones. We can count them in boundaries. Okay, this is a distribution of all of the K-5 students across the district. So it's a good spread. And again, in our analysis, doesn't have any major impacts, negative impacts on we call it logistical structure, more simply transportation. So that was our initial analysis based on student locations and things like that. So now, and that was the first setup. So the first setup was to draw the boundaries and to geocode the kids, make sure we have everybody located properly on the map, so when we do counts, that the counts are accurate. So now we take a look at some of the projections. So this is a district-wide projection. The gray is the historical enrollment. The color is the projected enrollment. So we kind of take a look at these things. We take a look at the K3. Okay, the base year was 564. The last historical year that we're using, which is the current school year, was 657. And then as you take a look, these are the projections come out. And as far as kindergarten enrollment is concerned across the district, it's level. I mean, there's a slight bump over here, but over the course of the 5 years of the projection, the enrollment is pretty steady. Same for grade 4 and 5, Yelly School. Again, there is some fluctuation, but it stays within a reasonable amount. And our assessment is looking at these numbers don't cause us any alarms in terms of facility, distribution of kids in instructional space. Again, middle school, very steady, just a couple of bumps here, but again, not enough of a bump to really have an impact on facility. And finally, the high school, same kind of thing, 662 to 663. So over the course of the 5 years of projection, it comes back to where it was in the first year of the projection. And again, some fluctuation here, but nothing terribly critical. So that was what this represents us, that no matter what we recommend or what you do, almost everything everything should have sustainability. In other words, whatever decisions you make now should last over a fairly long period of time. We're saying 5 years, but looking at these numbers, it would probably be considerably longer than that. Okay, so now here's the Norse enrollment. And again, kindergarten, here are your numbers. no major fluctuations there. Grade 1, same kind of thing. Grade 2, a little bit of fluctuation, high here, a little bit lower here, a little bit higher here, and then kind of steady going out. So again, North shows stability. It did have some increases in enrollment in the past, but it looks like using the projections going out, the school looks like it's stable in terms of enrollment. Okay, so I'm going to try and explain this because sometimes the terminology may confuse me. So when I talk about, we're looking here at taking a look at target class sizes, and we're looking at two variations of target class sizes. So one we're calling low end, and that low end, it's a low end target of class size. So on the low end, we're looking at a target class size of 18 students at K1 and 20 students at grades 2 and 3. So that would be the targeting the lower end of enrollment. The high end uses 22 students at K and 1 and 24 students at grades 2 and 3. So let's take a look at how that works. If we're taking a look at the high end over and targeting that class size at those high end numbers, 22 and 24 across the board, we're taking a look at three classrooms at each grade level, and that's what we're looking at, three classrooms at that grade level. If we look at the low end, which lowers the class sizes, and it makes perfect sense. The lower the class size, the more rooms you may need. So if you take a look up here, where we have the majority of the grade levels, the majority of the grade levels in each of the years require 4. So in most cases, it exceeds the number of rooms by 1. There's still a couple that remain at 3, or there are actually 1, 2, 5 that remain at 3. The rest are at 4. So what this shows you the difference between higher class sizes and lower class sizes, and based on your instructional space, you guys can make a decision where you want to target. Do you want to take the class sizes down? Do you have enough room to increase the number of rooms by grade levels? Do you want to maintain the lower end, which is the 22 to 24? This helps you guys make a decision in terms of what kind of policies you want to set with regard to class size. So our initial assessment of enrollment projections and class size targets that we will need between 12 and 16 rooms, again, depending on class size. Now, this is also important to note too, and it's important to our methodology. There were no provisions made for breaking out special needs students. There are 2 reasons for that. First of all, not all special ed students require a specific classroom. So self-contained students, yes, but your mainstream special needs students, they stay in general ed classes and maybe get pulled out for resources, get pulled out for some kind of help. But the bottom line is that all of these students, general ed and mainstream special ed, require a seat in the general education classroom. So what we do is we calculate how many of those rooms we're going to use to meet the needs of special needs of gen ed and mainstream students. And then we take a look at the individual programs that exist for self-contained students, and we make sure that in building this stuff, before we do anything like boundary change or anything like that, or move programs around, that after we program in the mainstream special ed and gen ed students, that we have classrooms that are available to self-contained special needs students. And I haven't looked in detail at your classifications yet, but every classification may require a different maximum class size. For example, autistic children may require probably can't exceed more than 6 in a classroom, and there will probably be a teacher and be aides. So you need a full-size class. Learning disabled children who need to be self-contained can go to a higher number, maybe 12 to 15. I'm not exactly sure of the state guidelines on that, but typically autistic children are around 6 to 8, and typically LD children are around 12 to 15. But we want to make sure for those self-contained children, there is space in their home school. So you don't want to be, or wherever their program is located, so they remain in that school throughout the course of their going through the school district. So that kind of gives you an idea, though, of the difference between going to the high end, which is the 22 to 24, or the low end, which is the 18 to 20. And this is also a thing to take a look at. Okay, if we look at these charts, okay, this is a line of 20. If you take a look at our projection using the low end target, okay, we come up above and don't have a whole bunch of space. I'm sorry, yeah, the low end target. We come up to here and we have no room above 20. You know what's significant about that is that let's take a look at, let's say, this grade in 2025 next year. Right. So if we're using a target of 24, right, and so that means that vertically, if we received new students, in other words, students coming in, we could take this all the way up to here. We can go between 16 and 24. So we have room for 8 students in that grade level. So this gives, so all of these indicate room for growth. There's a little bit of less space here, but the bottom line is that with the low end, we create room, we create vertical room, and the vertical room being the difference between the target and the actual. And that's what this represents. When we go to the high end, the high class size, what you see here is that we don't have a whole lot of space for growth. At 18, we have a little bit of space here, a little bit of space here, some space here, a little bit of space here. So at this level, okay, the difference between the target and the actual gives you little room for growth, which means that let's say you're in a kindergarten and you're at, well, let's take a different number. Let's say this grade level, okay, exceeds the 20, okay, the 20. That means that if you want to keep that number at the 18, all right, you probably have to open up another classroom. You probably have to split this. So again, the high end, the lower class sizes gives you less flexibility. Okay? And so one of the decisions that has to be made is that if you want to target low end, we do the assessment of how many instructional spaces are available in the room, what impact it has on teaching staff. In other words, if you start to split grades because of any excess coming in, do you open up another classroom? Does it mean hire another teacher? I'm not saying anything that's a bad thing. I'm just telling you what it is. So more flexibility on the low end, less flexibility on the high end. And what I mean by flexibility, the ability to absorb new kids as they move into the community, if the community expands and grows. Okay. So now we look at Salamanese, same kind of thing, historical enrollment, projected enrollment. So here we're going, again, we're staying the next year we're projecting a little low, but after that a little bit lower, dropping from 88 to 81, but across the board, that looks very, very stable. Probably carrying over to the later grades, we're at 92, so we dropped a little from the year before, dropped again to about 87 here, but then we go across the board again, the last 4 years out steady. Same thing across here, a little bit of differentiation in the first 3 years, steady in the last 3 years. Finally here at the high school, at the third grade level, you take a look what the numbers are. There are a couple little drops in here, but pretty much within a range. So if you're starting at 113, you're ending at 103. You're probably not to make a whole lot of changes over the course of that 5-year projection. Again, what's important here, as I said before, is that that the district is by and large stable. And again, stability is good for sustainability of programs, sustainability of class sizes. Okay, so again, the same thing we talked about here at the low end. At the low end, you need less classrooms. Take a look across here, and at the high end, at the high target, I'm gonna say high target, at the high target, you need less classrooms. At the low target, you need more classrooms. And we're talking here, that as with Norse, with purposes of developing section counts, we use the same 18 at K and 1 and 20 at 2 and 3 as the high target, and we used the same figures, the 20 and 20. I'm sorry, the 22 and 24 at the higher grades, and again shows that that less classrooms are required at the low end, at the high end, and more classrooms are required at the low end, at the lower target size. It's all logical. It all makes sense. And now, again, adjusted, again, the same thing we talked about before. High end gives, as you go above this line, especially for the lower grades at 18, and even if you go above the line at 22, you've got very little flexibility. And again, flexibility between the actual enrollment and the target size. That determines how many kids you can bring in the class before you either have to create another section or just go beyond the targeted the target size or the target class size. Again, the low end, a lot more flexibility. So and again, just reemphasize flexibility, meaning that if you absorb more children over the period of 5 years, vertically you've got room to grow before you either need to split a section or take some or increase the class sizes. And again, the same kind of thing. We're taking a look at the this is for Yelly, I believe, yeah, HAY. All right, again, the low end produces more classrooms. The high end, I'm sorry, at the high end, we save classroom space. At the low end, we increase classroom space. So again, that kind of shows what the differences are when you target different class sizes. And as the board needs to or wants to, which has policy with regard to maximum class sizes, this serves as a good guide for that. So now just a couple of other things. The recent review of school classroom capacity indicated substantial capacity in each facility, meaning that each building has room. LG Norse has 24 classrooms, JC Talamise has 41 classrooms, and Henry Yelly has 40 classrooms. Now, as indicated in the previous slides, the demand for general education classrooms would be Norse 12 to 16, Salamonese 18 to 24, and Yelly 16 to 18. So when all the programs, including special needs and other programs in the building, are considered, there really isn't enough space to consolidate the 3 PK5 facilities. Our studies, our findings show that there's too many other kinds of programs, including self-contained, and all those are self-contained, and OTPT if you have it, and resource rooms and individual instruction, that you've got enough space to do that. You've got really adequate space to do that, but not with a consolidation. The class size comparisons indicate that no significant imbalances exist between JCS and LGN that would require any kind of redistricting. I mean, there's no need to make any changes because it's not going to change. It's not going to be an equity issue in terms of class size and enrollment and access to programs. And, one of the things that we look at, we consider in a study, and I'm sure you do, is equity. We want to make sure that every kid in every school has the same opportunity. So given our study being based on class size and based on instructional space, indicates to us that in terms of enrollment, in terms of class size, there's no inequity between the buildings, or if it's very minor. And so again, sustainable, but again, there's no need to. We don't believe that you can join schools, consolidate any of the schools, given the space that you have. And finally, existing space is being used by specialized programs and activities, which can clearly continue. So in other words, we're saying that things to this point, in terms of our analysis, things are looking very good. They look like they're sustainable. We're not quite finished with the study yet. And let me to the next slide. So the next steps in the project. A reassessment of space allocations. And given a lack of space available for consolidation, are there alternatives to the current space configurations that would be valuable to the district to consider? And what we're saying here is we're going to take like a 30,000-foot view of all the data and say, is there something that you can do better? I'm not saying that there is, but we're saying that we don't want to reject everything out of hand. We want to take one good look based on the confidence that we have with the data that we're dealing with. What are the other viable options for grade configurations and their assignments to the schools? Again, something we're going to look at again, and this could have to do with program location, consolidation of maybe special needs programs. And these are hypotheticals. They're not anything that we've decided at. They're just kind of things we want to look at the whole picture. That I think that Tim, I don't know if you guys met Tim. He's my colleague. He's been doing a lot of work on this project. Also, he's been doing most of the work on this project actually. And but we have confidence in the data. So now what we want to do is we want to step back with confidence in the data and say, is there something maybe we missed? Is there a recommendation that may be helpful to the school district in terms of decision making? And remember, the purpose of this study is to help you guys make decisions for the future. And I was listening to some of that tonight at some of the presentations. So there's a lot going on in the school district. And this is helpful in terms of basically where you're going to put your money in the future, what you're going to do with your programs in the future. So that's what this is about. It's just giving you data and information, at least on the instructional level, on the capacity level and instructional space level to make decisions in the future. And the other thing that we're going to look at finally at the end is that what are the impacts of any of the options in terms of logistical things, such as if we make a recommendation, how does it impact transportation? And of course, changes in transportation could have serious impacts or major impacts on costs. Again, we're not ready to say. We may say, hey, there's nothing left to see here. We're fine, and you move on because you're going to be sustainable over the next 5 years. You're doing well. You've got space, or we may say, hey, we found something that might be helpful to you, and if it's helpful to if we say this is something that's helpful to you, we'll give you a cost out. We'll say, well, this could change transportation, which is probably the single most expensive part of the logistics in the district in terms of dollar per student. So there you have it. Okay. And I am more than happy to field questions.
Thank you, Dr. Haber. I appreciate that. I think the only thing I just want to mention to the committee is that we'll be coming back in January with those next steps. So one of the things I asked Dr. Haber and Tim to kind of look at is if we reconfigure the lineup of school grades, what would that look like? We have 5 schools. He really touched upon our 3 elementary sites. That's what the majority of our kind of movement is at this time. But we will take a look at a couple different scenarios in terms of, if this building was no longer 4-5, it was 3-5, or if this building was K-2, or something along those lines. And I think it's important because, as Dr. Haber said, this is nothing that we've decided. It's just giving the committee information and data to make informed decisions. I also think it's really important to talk about the facility capacity. So in the ideal world, when we said, what is our low target for class size, what's our high target for class size, that's if the stars align and mind raining from the trees. We know that that's not always where we're going to be. I like the kindergarten classroom sizes to be 18. I think that's what's appropriate for kindergarten, especially when we do not have full-time paraprofessionals in those classrooms.
Yeah.
But what we can actually do with the funding that we have is really important. And I think it's also important to note that the general education classroom spaces are really what was the focus of this study. As Dr. Haber mentioned, every student needs to go into a homeroom. So that's the time, that's the data that we look at. But we have, and you know, here at the LGN alone, we have 5 or 6 special education classrooms that are full classroom spaces for specialized programs. At JCS, we have 7 preschool classrooms. So those things are all in factors. We do not have the ability to combine any of our 2 schools the way that our current grade level configuration and enrollment are right now. So I think this was super helpful. Number one, the geocoding is really cool. Like you can almost look and find your address and see your own individual little dots sitting there. And it's not something that we could have done. And so thank you to Dr. Niebuhr and to Tim, you know, for doing this work for us. And we're working with them to get the transportation information and really take a look at alternate options. And we will present that to you probably in the second meeting of June.
I have a quick question. With the numbers, with the enrollment projection baseline numbers, is that? Yes, yep. Does that include school choice students, or is that just Norton residents? That's a great question.
Dr. Haber, we have school choice students, so they are currently included in our numbers, our current enrollment numbers. But I would imagine that you see them in the gray as the actual or the enrolled, but they're not projected in the colored columns because they're not births within the community, correct?
Well, okay, so okay, so just so I fully understand, I mean, I know what school choice is, but in terms of yours, so your district, so you've got 2 K-3 schools, okay? So can parents elect to go to either one? So in other words, someone living in the, okay, how does school choice?
If you live in town, you must attend a school you must attend your neighborhood school. However, we have very few openings each year for students from other communities or staff members that want to choice their children in. So typically in a kindergarten class, the last couple of years, it's been maybe 5 kids.
Okay. Well, they're counted in the projection count, okay? Because we're taking, remember that, let me go. This is your actual enrollment from the schools. So this is historical enrollment. So if these 664 or 662 or 653, if they are enrolled in your school, they're counted and they're projected out. Now, the other thing that we come up with too, and I don't know if we talked about this, when we did the initial geocoding, any child who does not have a Norton address doesn't geocode. So we know that those are kids who are coming into the school district, you know, for other reasons, the school of choice or whatever it is. But just going back to what I said, all of these historical numbers, they include every single child on your enrollment. Doesn't differentiate whether they're in district or choice kids or out of district kids. Those are so we are projecting on those numbers. They're included in that. They're in the bars.
Which so theoretically, it would probably only impact that kindergarten number, or if we said we have 2 spots in 2nd grade or something along those lines. So it would be a small.
So where we've cut back on choice.
Yeah.
2 or 3 years ago.
Okay. What we can do is we can do it. Let me go back up to the geocoding. So so on the geocoding, we can say, okay, show me all of the kids in any school in any grade who live in the Norton boundary, and it's going to show me the kids who are geocoded into the boundary. Then if I reverse that and I say, okay, now show me all of the kids outside of the Norton boundary, and we take a look at that and we say, okay, we've got 20 kids in grades K through 3.
Like 230.
Okay, I'm just making a number up, okay? You know, so I'm just making a number, I'm just telling what we can do. And is give you the number of kids who are coming to the number of children who are coming into the district who don't live in the district. And we break that out, we can break that out by grade level. So we can take a look in K through 12, and say, and you know, K through 12, say it's 200 and some odd kids over 13 grades, right? So on a grade level basis, unless it's overwhelmingly in one grade, it probably doesn't break out to that many numbers, but it does appear in the projection. And if you need to know, you know, and if these get my thoughts together, and if the facility stuff here, okay, is impact, like may say we go here, okay, so in the low end in this particular in LGN, right? The low end says that's the 18 to 18 and 20 target sizes. Okay, so if we say, okay, now let's extract from this, okay, all of the choice kids or all of the out of district kids, it probably would have some impact on the low end. Okay, it probably would bring these numbers down and maybe decrease. And I don't know for sure because I haven't done it. Maybe decrease the class sizes, but you can do this on an annual basis. I mean, it's not, you know, it's not set in stone for one. So again, going back, so yes, the choice kids are counted in the projections, and they are counted in these numbers, but these numbers don't deduct the choice children. So so if that's a question that you need answered, we certainly can answer it.
Thank you. Does anyone have any other questions for Dr. Schaefer?
I have a bunch, but I think it'll be better.
Thank you so much, Dr. Haber. We appreciate your time, and I know you were on for a while before we got to you, so thank you for spending your evening with us.
I was watching a Purdue basketball game, so it was fine. I was occupying myself. I was watching Purdue basketball game, so that was lovely. But I was paying attention to. Anyway, thank you for your questions. We will. I'll talk to Tim, and we'll take a look at what the choice impact is, and if they were removed from the school, how that would impact the low end. And you guys have any questions? Get them to me, and Tim and I will be more than happy to answer them. And I guess that's about it. So again, thank you for your attention, and have a great holiday, everybody.
You as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
My pleasure. Bye-bye.
We switch things and change things up, so we can do that, or we can talk offline. It's really whatever you prefer. So when they come back in January, we will be looking more specifically at recategorization of the schools themselves, and we're going to make grade span changes. And we will also be looking at transportation impacts, which then will inform the start. You know, so but this is very cool to kind of look at it. Like if you like numbers, things like that, it's cool.
And then timeline wise.
Yep.
Would we be still looking to roll this out fall?
I would say if we do not have a decision by the end of January, I think we should push it back to fall of 27th. I think the end of January is your. So I think.
Well, that depends on the changes.
Correct. Yeah. Well, what recommendations? Absolutely. And the other thing we could always do too, just like we have conversations, like we have two people that are on the negotiation team, like we have two people that are on the capital team, we could get two of you together and we could do some of the meetings, get on with him and Ross and the three of us at some point if we wanted to do that and flesh out some ideas as well.
And then if we were to make some type of significant change, there you go, strength, base, whatever, would you look to do anything very fall?
We have to. Yeah. So we're getting close.
No, this was awesome.
I think yeah. So it is very interesting to see it, and Brian and I met with them last week and said, what about this, what this. I have a good day yesterday, so.
I mean, I think if nothing else, it finally puts to bed the notion of this based on its productions. Cannot. That's bad.
I don't think, yeah, I don't know, that's very slippery slope. I don't know if it gives us the ability to look at eventually doing something differently at grade level where that is supposed to fall. And with that being said, is there a potential for, I don't want to go down the thing, but in addition to this school, for all the kids in Texas, would there be an addition to JCS where we move this grade back there, this, you know, whatever, like, I think those are the doors that this would give us way more information
I agree.
to make those decisions logistically and.
And so because of the program we offer in district, and we all know that every time you keep a special education program in district, you are, number one, you're keeping kids with their siblings, with their peers, with their neighbors, and it's better for the student. But it also is significant cost savings because an out-of-district placement is always going to cost them. So we always want to keep kids in district. So because we have those programs, we will face. And our preschool program is just rough, which is wonderful, right? It's wonderful that families want to be able to send their kids to local daycares. Being space for those things to come. And so the other thing we always want to be cautious of is that if we were to close one of our elementary schools, any reimbursement that we receive from the MSBA, the windows, doors, the roof, you are now obligated to pay all of that. So those are things because it's no longer being utilized in the school, and therefore it no longer falls under the MSBA. So that is with a significant cost. So hypothetically, if we said, and I'm not just throwing idea, like, and I'm not going to use LGN because the LGN always gets picked on. I'm going to say, we're going to say, okay, JCS is going to be just preschool. Because we would never say that. But JCS is going to be just preschool. Like, at least it's still a school.
Yeah.
It's still a school. It'll still be operating as a school. But you wouldn't, like, closing a building is scary. And you have to pay back whatever money just, like, whatever money you borrow. I know, like, infinity, I think like within 20 years. But I can get you seats. Yeah, but it's you pay that much back.
I mean, you know, flip side of that is talk about capital, roofs and everything else over. You know, no, I'm not advocating.
5% reimbursement rate for MSBA, it's much easier to sell the project, both to capital and to the town. Speaking of.
All right, next is discussion and vote on the middle school MSBA project.
So I brought this back to the committee for, because when we last talked about it here publicly, we talked about a restoration of the local middle school. You know, we had a lot of concerns about it, and we really pushed our OPM and the, design firm to give us more information about what a full replacement. A couple weeks ago, we went to the board building committee, had a really positive, meeting with them in terms of, you know, sharing all the information. So tonight, I'm not gonna go through everything with you. I think, the schematic design is all in there. And ultimately, what I really just want to share is, the finance. So, we had originally started by talking about a restoration that was going to cost roughly $9 million, $9.5 million. And now, we're talking about a full replacement, which would be $9.2 million. Plus, if you look on the back, it's actually over 10 because of the OPM fees and all those other things there. So, I apologize, I'm pretty sorry to shut down. We have a 55.63 reimbursement. And when you look at this cost here, it is going to be higher because the estimated maximum total facilities we're in from the state is about 5.6. It's very important that our highest number is here and now before the MSBA takes it to their board meeting and approves that they will give us up to $5.6 million in reimbursement for the middle school. In talking with our OPM and in talking with our designers, they find that bids typically come in around 70% of this initial construction cost. So second grade math for a long time. I'm gonna say 70% of 10 million is roughly 7 million, give or take. And then we get a 55% reimbursement rate on that,
70.
on whatever the final cost is. So if it costs us 7.5 million, we would get 55% reimbursement on 7.5, which would cost the town under $4 million to do. So the narrative around $10 million for a roof is not, yes, that's the number it's showing us right now, but it's not accurate in terms of what the town is going to need to pay for this. Also, in your packet tonight, this is brand new, is the timeline for the middle school roof project. As you can see, we are, kind of in this schematic design, the estimator, cost estimate. All of our information has to be to the MSBA by next Thursday, which is the 18th. And they will review it at their board meeting in February. We do not anticipate any issues. But what this would mean is that it would go to the MSBA, it would be approved by them. We, as a school committee, and superintendent, I would like to do my road show a little bit in the spring, if this is what we're going to be asking for at town meeting. Presenting to the finance committee again, presenting to the select board, going back to the permanent building committee, going over to the senior center and presenting to them there. All of those things, I think are really important for us to help sell this project to the town. And at the end of the day, the reimbursement is really good. A 55% reimbursement would be incredible for us, but we can't afford to do it on our own, right? So we want to make sure that we are following this process here. And I would welcome any of you to, attend these meetings with me and share concerns. When we met with the permanent building committee a couple weeks ago, one of their questions is, what else potentially would need to be done to Norton Middle School to kind of make that building weathertight again? And so they had asked our OPM and our designer to come back with a little bit more of a comprehensive number, knowing that it wouldn't necessarily be part of the reimbursement for MSBA, but like when you're in the rotunda, do any of those windows need to be replaced because there's been so much water damage? Is there big pointing of the brick that needs to be done because of some of the water damage? One of the other things that we've discussed is like the middle school's like in good shape. Like when things happen, leaks are fixed, tiles are replaced, the wall is fixed. So we're not super nervous about the inside of the building itself, but I think in any construction project, you never know what it's going to be. So they are working on cost estimates of some of those. Yes, well, we knew there was asbestos. Well, correct. But there are no asbestos in Norton Middle School because it was built in the So I felt it was really important for you guys to do another vote because this would be a full replacement versus.
Yeah, and I think sitting with permanent building committee as well as a resident, and talking to the thing in the 70% stuff, just running quick numbers, not that you want to get into what we're going to bid and whatnot, but the $10 million that's being thrown around everywhere, that's going to cost $10 million for places, is very low. But probably look at somewhere between $3 and $4 million. That's actually going to be put on the taxpayers in terms, in some type of form of a debt exclusion. That,
Yes.
That's what all the process involved. So I think that needs to be clear to kind of more to the public. And with the state kicking in the 55.63%, state's going to be on the hook between, 4 million and 4.5 million, give or take exactly what it's all looks like. So I think that $10 million, I think, scared a lot of people, but it also makes sense if you're thinking in terms of like, you got to go to the number to the state. You always inflate it on purpose to make sure the reimbursement fee that's coming back is also going to make sense. That things are covered and all fall. The nice thing that I did thought was great from the building committee, permanent building committee, was they seem to be much in favor of putting contingencies in around like Jennifer's talking about. You take the roof off, you see a window, it's leaking, there's a window to be replaced, so that all the way down from, things chipping away from paint and the water damage, they just never know, put off. So, I thought overall that everything, when we attended that thing, there was definitely good support behind it. I think ultimately, as a committee, kind of making sure I think pulling this from the town in the fall was an absolute correct move.
Great.
So I do want to commend us a little bit on that as well, because I think we kind of, not that we got rushed into a vote, but I think they were so gung ho on like trying to get this thing done, because obviously we need a room. But I think kind of seeing this all kind of planning out now, we put on Band-Aid on it, essentially, so the next few months, make sure we have all our ducks in a row, give the support we need, within the town, from the residents, and then hopefully, move this thing forward, because I have to get where one person said,
So to that,
we probably have something like that, so.
yeah, so I mean, we're gonna be looking at the summer for weeks. So, thank you to the finance committee and to the permanent building committee for their advocacy and for them to, say to our team, like, do the repairs you need to do, we'll figure out how to pay for it, so thank you very much to them.
I think also going to that meeting as a resident, it was really nice because I think, again, everybody you speak to and you're part of these committees, they want to do this right. Yes, nobody wants to approach this and back here in 5 years, for a meeting for a month later, everybody knows that this needs to be done and they want to do it in the correct way. And so, that was, I think, felt really good too. Absolutely.
I think that kind of shows the evolution of the town. Because for
Yeah.
so many years, a lot of projects weren't done correctly, and ultimately us as taxpayers paying the price. So now, you kind of look around town, we have a lot of new facilities, we have a lot of, now it turns into now we have to keep them correctly. So that's the next part of it. So
And that's where I think, we're gonna always have our hiccups, there's gonna be a difference in opinions and everything else, but I think that's where school committee, select board, FinCom, permanent building committee, pulling everyone together and having general consensus of like, hey, here's our front lines. Because when we do that type of stuff, the residents see it and say, wait a second, our leaders are doing this together. They're making the best decision, what they believe for the town, in the city. So I think, again, I give them a lot of credit. I give us a ton of credit. This has always been a ongoing process, and as it should be, we've crossed our T's, dotted our I's and so forth. So, I think hopefully we can I think we're in a good spot, kind of move this thing forward and do it correctly. So, like I said the last time, poor souls who sit here and, 20 years from now aren't doing the same thing.
all right, any other discussion? All right, so I'll entertain a motion to approve the roof project as presented.
So,
All those in favor? Aye. All right, any other business anticipated, unanticipated?
Only thing I was gonna remind you guys is that the high school winter concert is tomorrow night, 5:30. We have an Amusement Forest band, rock bands, they're amazing. It's really fun. Bring kids.
So I know you just gave us this, if we haven't.
Yeah.
Do we have any updates?
Greens is moving into their new space January 5th. Really exciting, really exciting for them.
Exactly.
They should have a pop-up computer. Cool.
So that gives them two facilities, or they should, they're not shutting that down.
No, Middleborough is still basically happening. So this will be their primary space for DHH. And so, they will be empty classrooms at JCS. And students will be transported, from their facility back to JCS. Integrated classes, very much opportunities.
Merry Christmas, happy holidays, we hope to see each other until the new year.
Yeah, we not. You will see each other on the.
Any motion to adjourn?
Second.
All in favor?
All right.
Recording stopped.